Good morning and welcome to the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi and I do this with Benjamin Akakbo. It's 11 more days to go for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Have you decided on which candidates you're going to be voting for? Well, right here on the AM show this morning, we'll start by serving you the AM news. And then after that, we'll sit with our guest. Today is Tuesday. Our favorite duo will be joining us to review the newspapers. We have Kojo Poku, who is an energy analyst, and Wisdom Dogbe, a financial analyst. Both gentlemen will be joining us right after the news to review the newspapers. And then Muftan Abil Abdullahi will come your way with AM Sports, bringing you the latest updates in the world of sports. For our big stories today, we'll take a look at disinformation and misinformation. According to a UNESCO report, global survey, 87% of respondents fear disinformation can influence elections in their countries. In Ghana, institutions such as the NCCE have had their own cause to worry about the dangers of this phenomenon. Is our democracy being jeopardized? Is this causing public interest to decline in credible institutions? How worried should we be in dealing with disinformation and misinformation with just 11 days to go to the 2024 elections? We'll look at this pertinent issue right here on the AM show. Also, scathing findings against trustees of the National Cathedral by Straj, calling for their possible prosecution over procurement breaches and recommending cancellation of construction contracts entered with Rebate Company Limited, among others. And they're calling it an illegal contract. But we'll hear from some of the anti-graft campaigners. You want to join us with your comments and your thoughts across social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV. And hopefully at the tail end of the show, when we open the phone lines, you get to have your say. Welcome aboard. Around the world and across Ghana's 16 regions, this is the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi. Let's get right into the AM news now. This is the AM News. Welcome aboard, folks. Now, Ghana is set to select a vendor to build its first nuclear power plant by end of this year to augment the country's current energy supply. This assurance is coming amidst rising concerns over sustainable energy supply and Ghana's mounting debt to independent power producers. The country is intensifying efforts to incorporate nuclear energy into its power generation mix. Over the next 10 days, Ghana will host the Integrated Regulatory Review Service mission to assess and enhance its nuclear energy strategy. Collins Frimpong has more in this report.
Ghana, by the end of the year, would have selected a vendor to build its first nuclear power plant. To enhance the effectiveness of Ghana's regulatory infrastructure for nuclear, radiation, radioactive waste and transport safety, a 10-day engagement with an Integrated Regulatory Review Service mission by the International Atomic Energy Agency is currently ongoing in Accra, where Dr. Robert Bright Malko Sobaji, Director of Power responsible for nuclear and alternative energy at the Ministry of Energy, reviewed Ghana's nuclear power timetable.
By the early 2030s. And we've taken all the steps to complete our phase 1, and we are in phase 2, where we are to identify the vendor. We've gone through all the vendor process, vendor identification process, and by the end of the year, all things being equal, we should be able to announce the vendor who is going to build Ghana's first nuclear power plant. So we are just at the finalized stages of, identifying, the vendor. And I'm sure by the end of the year, we should be able to announce.
The IRRS mission review is expected to help align Ghana's nuclear power policy with international standards. Chief Director at the Ministry of Environment, Patrick Nomo, explains.
And they'll be here to work for 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, they'll review everything that has to do with nuclear power. They'll talk to relevant stakeholders. They'll look at the security and safety arrangements that we have in place in terms of our laws and regulations, what policies we are coming up with, what review mechanisms do we have, how the Nuclear Regulatory Authority itself will be staffed and how it will operate. What is the assurance that they will be independent in their operations? All these things will be reviewed by the mission, and then they will make recommendations. The beauty of this mission is that they have come at a time when we have developed all the policies, but we have not approved them yet. We have not passed them yet. So they will have the opportunity to make recommendations to improve the policies that have been done. So that when they go to Cabinet for approval and subsequently to Parliament for approval, they will meet international standards. And then when we implement them, they will be in line with the requirements of the IAEA.
Ghana aims to include nuclear power in its electricity generation mix by mid-2030. Collins Frimpong's reports for Joy News.
The coordinator of eco-conscious citizens, Awula Sewa, is advocating for the urgent repeal of legislative instrument 2462, which permits mining in forest reserves. The environmentalist argues that the irreversible damage caused by such activities far outweighs any potential benefits. The following report has more.
In 2017, President Akufo-Addo pledged to combat illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey, by putting his presidency on the line. The Ghana Water Company Limited in the Central Region has recently reported severe water supply challenges in Cape Coast, Elmina, and nearby areas. These issues stem from insufficient raw water at the Setre Himan Water Treatment Plant, exacerbated by pollution from illegal mining. The pollution has significantly reduced the amount of water available from the Pra River for treatment. Awula Sewa, coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, speaking on the sidelines of the Redeem Your Presidency conference, is calling on President Akufo-Addo to immediately repeal LI 2462 and enforce a ban on all forms of illegal mining.
The existential threat that we face, we've been raising awareness about it. And our concern is that Ghanaians were not angry enough. I mean, if right now I bring a stick and I start hitting you, you won't be smiling, you'll be doing something about it. But Ghanaians know they're being poisoned, and somehow they just seem to be taking it. And that has been a great source of concern. But recently, it seemed as if Ghanaians had finally become angry enough at being poisoned. And what has been going on is that the firefighters, those who are supposed to be putting out the fire, are themselves complicit, or in many cases, they themselves are setting the fires. They are the arsonists. Well, we are saying that there's still a few days to 7th December. And it's not too late for the president to redeem his presidency by declaring a state of emergency. He can still do that. He can get rid of LI 2462 if he wants to. And he can stop the Minerals Commission from issuing licenses, and he can make sure that everybody leaves our forest reserves and water bodies. There's still a lot he can do to redeem his presidency. If he meant what he said in 2017, we're in 2024 and things are far, 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 far worse than when he put his presidency on the line. He can still redeem his presidency. It's never too late. So we are calling on him to redeem his presidency. So when people think about him, they don't think that under his tenure, illegal mining went on an unprecedented scale, and many Ghanaians now will be suffering from kidney disease. In the galamsey areas, there's a rise in kidney disease, a rise in cancers, maternal deaths, deformed babies, and stillborn babies because of the mercury.
Some attendees at the conference also share their expectations following the discussions.
A lot of people think it's far away, this galamsey, but in fact, every big city is touched by, because all the goods come from these regions. The vegetables, the fruits, and on the other side, all these rivers, they go into the sea. And what do we eat from the sea? Is fish. So everybody is touched.
These adults or old people destroy water bodies and leave the effects for us, the youth, to suffer in the near future. Yeah, so I see it as a problem they are creating for us to face in the near future.
The conference also saw the screening of documentaries by award-winning journalist Erastus Asare Donko.
Economists are questioning the government's claims that the economy has returned to its pre-COVID growth trajectory. Finance Minister Dr. Amin Adam, speaking on a campaign platform recently, asserted that the country is rebounding with macroeconomic stability rapidly returning. He highlighted that key indicators are improving daily, citing a 2023 growth rate of 2.9%, surpassing the projected 1.5%. Dr. Amenadam also revealed that the half-year economic performance for 2024 reached 5.8%, significantly higher than the anticipated 3.1%. Now, according to him, these figures confirm that the economy is regaining strength. However, Professor Godfred Alufa-Gbokpin, an economist and finance expert at the University of Ghana Business School, strongly disagrees, insisting that data available does not support such claims. He will hear his perspective shortly. But first, here's Finance Minister Dr. Amenadam.
The Ghanaian economy has come back to life following the difficulties we faced in the last 3 years. Macroeconomic stability is fast returning to our country. We all can see the indicators improving by the day. And now we want to focus on growth, economic growth, which has also already demonstrated that the economy has recovered strongly. Last year, we were supposed to grow at 1.5%. We grew at 2.9%. Half this year, we're supposed to grow at 3.1%. We grew at 5.8%. The first half-year growth of 5.8% is more than the real GDP growth we recorded in the first half of 2019 by 0.4 percentage points. Which means that this economy is back to the growth trajectory of the period before COVID. This is the job the President and the Vice President have done to bring our economy back to life.
Minister, but Professor Godfred Alufa-Gbokpin of the University of Ghana Business School disagrees with these assertions, saying that using such parameters to measure economic growth is narrow, insisting that available data does not support such claims by the government.
Growth measured by GDP is picking up, at least if you look at the first 2 quarters for this year and all of that. But that is a narrow way of looking at it. If you say the economy has recovered broadly, then you want to look beyond just the GDP and then look at the other indicators. If you look at pre-pandemic inflation, 7.9%. Even the highest inflation rate in terms of regional distribution was Accra, which was just around 12.something%. So, and currently October inflation was 22.1%. If you look at the rate of depreciation of the currency, again, you can say that we have recovered to pre-pandemic level. Pre-pandemic, if you look at where the policy rate was, far below 20%, and then you look at where the policy rate is right now, then there's misalignment. Then it means that the central bank is not seeing this same recovery as reaching pre-pandemic level as the government is talking about it. Because if you look at where the policy rate is, and you compare that to pre-pandemic policy rate, you can see that we are not there yet. Then again, if you look at treasury bill rate, look at the rate at which government is borrowing, and then look at the rate before the pandemic. So if you just pick the GDP growth, which is just for the first, we've seen the uptick, which is good news, but it's not broadening, it's not reflective, it's not representative of what the economy was before the pandemic. And therefore, we've seen some recovery, we've seen relative stability, but I think we have not reached pre-pandemic level. There's still a lot that we have to do, because the bulk of the reliefs from both in terms of support from the IMF, the World Bank, and then also reliefs from the external debt restructuring and the domestic debt restructuring, all the reliefs are being front-loaded. For the period that the IMF program is in force, I'm afraid we have not recovered to pre-pandemic level. The data broadly does not support that position.
In other stories, residents who lost properties, including voter ID cards, to a fire outbreak at Odfadama have expressed uncertainty about their ability to vote during the 2024 general election. Fire ravaged 10 makeshift structures at Odfadama in Agbogloshi on Sunday, leading to the loss of many properties in the area. Some of the victims who spoke to Joy News say they are unsure if they will be able to vote on December 7th after losing their voter ID cards in the fire. Adobe Asari tells us more.
Around 8:30 p.m. last night, that's Sunday, 24th of November, 2024, certain parts of Agbogloshi Old Fadama caught fire. It's still unclear how the fire started, but the good thing is the fire service were here on time to save the situation. Certain people have lost property, money, ID cards, among other things. But I'd like to hear from the residents here.
The moment I just reached my house, I can see that the fire started from the back there. So we rushed to the fire that we want to quench the fire, but we couldn't. Before we realized, every room over here got to the fire, so we couldn't off the fire. So later, before we will see, our everything got burned.
Before we get notice of it, it has overcome everybody. So we want government to help us so that from our daily services, it's not that we are hearing much about it. So this is how we are keeping our head.
All of us, our Ghana card, ID cards that we are going to use for, you see, so all we lost it. So the government should do something concerning those things and help us to get at least something where we can be able to put our head with our families, because some of us are family members here. So such a way the thing has happened now, we don't have anywhere to go.
It's getting closer to election. So most of us, we wanted to also travel to our hometown for election, but see how it has happened. So we have found it difficult.
A fire service for no by yet to meet Dumijano. But in fact, you are lost in Yoma Bebre.
This is how the place is looking now, as most of the people here have been rendered homeless because their structures have been reduced to ashes. Although property and money have been lost, the good thing is no casualty has been reported yet. But the people here are looking forward to seeing the government come through for them, as well as other philanthropists who can help. For Joy News, my name is Adobe Asari.
Moving on, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says the government has made significant strides in addressing the housing deficit in the country. During an inspection and commissioning of phases 1, 2, and 3 of the TDC affordable housing project in Tema, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia revealed that the government has constructed over 1,000 housing units for the security services, ensuring they have access to safe accommodations to support their critical roles in maintaining national security. The following report has more.
According to the Vice President, over 1,000 housing units have been constructed specifically for members of the security services in the Greater Accra region alone. This initiative, he says, ensures that security personnel have access to safe and decent accommodation. He also disclosed that through the rent assistance program, over 2,000 tenants nationwide have received financial support to cover rent payments.
Housing for security services. Our government recognizes the critical role of our security services and has prioritized their housing needs. Over the past 7 years, we have provided 1,000 housing units to the Ghana Police Service in Tema, Kwabenya, and Tesano. Government launched the Rent Assistance Scheme in 2023. Under this program, the government provides rent advances through a service provider, allowing tenants to pay monthly without the burden of upfront costs. So far, this scheme has supported 2,400 beneficiaries.
On the stalled Saglemi housing project, Dr. Bawumia said work will soon resume after entering into another public-private partnership agreement to oversee its completion.
Ladies and gentlemen, regarding the Saglemi housing project, the government has taken decisive steps to resolve the challenges surrounding its completion. Through executive approval and a rigorous procurement process, a developer has been selected to carry the project forward.
Earlier, the Vice President commissioned the corporate head office of the Lands Commission, where he applauded the Commission for its digital transformation. Dr. Bawumia lauded the automation of land title certification, highlighting its impact on improving efficiency.
Today, with the aid of digitalization, the Lands Commission has been able to automate land title certificates, which reduces the potential errors that could arise from manual entries, thereby significantly enhancing accuracy and efficiency.
The Vice President also inspected the ongoing construction of a multi-purpose theatre at Trade Fair in La, which he says will be completed in 8 months and boost the nation's struggling creative arts sector.
The National Blood Service says lack of finances, personnel and infrastructure are among a plethora of challenges facing the service, accounting for the shortfall in the nation's blood demand. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the National Blood Service, Dr. Shirley Owusu-Ofori, this factor negatively affects the service's ability to mobilize blood units across the country, leading to a 40% gap in the nation's blood demand. She made this revelation at this year's National Blood Donor Day. And there's more in this report by Kwame Prince Kuduga.
The National Blood Service ensures an effective and coordinated approach to the provision of safe, adequate and efficacious blood and blood product to all patients requiring blood transfusion in both public and private healthcare institutions in the country. However, CEO of the service, Dr. Shirley Owusu-Ofori, says lack of resources is affecting the delivery of this mandate.
Coupled with additional challenges we face as an institution, which has negatively affected our blood collection index, as stipulated by the World Health Organization. Our inadequacies have spanned from personnel to financial through to infrastructure.
Dr. Shirley Owusu-Ofori says some patients are charged illegal fees at the blood banks before they are given blood.
We've made a few arrests in the past, but because our regulations were not passed, even when they ended up in police stations, we couldn't prosecute. I was told that there was a gentleman in Kolebu called McLean. I don't know him, but now that we know the name, we are going to try and clamp on that individual. He may be that scapegoat that we will use to ensure that the processes are sanitized.
Senior statesman and Rotarian Sam Okujeto urged Ghanaians to cultivate the habit of voluntarily donating blood, as one does not know when they will be in need.
Important is for us to appreciate that you never know. It could be you yourself. It could be a member of your family that will need blood. That's why it is important for all of us to volunteer to donate, because you never know. It's possible. It could be you. And so it is important that we just emphasize this to all Ghanaians to say that if you are able, please donate.
The National Blood Donor Day is celebrated to honor persons who have donated blood to save lives and to encourage others to follow suit. Samuel Akumeni from the Ashanti region is this year's overall best blood donor.
I feel that if you don't get blood, you're not a human body. So if you are a human body, that means you have a blood. So I will encourage everybody to donate blood for everyone. For if you have a blood, you are a human being.
This year's Blood Donor Day was themed 24 years of celebrating giving in Ghana. Thank you, blood donors. Other outstanding individual donors and institutions were also awarded. For Joy News, Prince Kwame Kuduga's report read to you.
Coming up next is Business Update.
Welcome to Business. Now in our first story. The country's power situation is expected to improve greatly in the coming days. This was after a major independent power producer, Sunon Asogli Power Plant Ghana Limited, disclosed that it had resumed operations. There is more in this report.
Sunon Asogli Power Plant, in a statement, announced that
its 560 megawatt plant has now resumed operations. This was after government released an emergency funding to address the company's critical financial needs. Sources close to negotiations say this has resulted in payments of some of the debts owed Sunon Asogli. The independent power producer, in a statement signed by its chairman, said it has submitted a final version of the restructuring term sheets to the Ministry of Finance and the Electricity Company of Ghana in August and expects a signing soon. It also added that it is expecting the Electricity Company of Ghana to adhere to the terms of the contract and diligently honor their financial obligations in this whole deal. The company therefore thanked the Finance Minister and the Minister of Energy on the role they have played when it comes to this deal.
Now, aggrieved customers of defunct gold dealer Men's Gold are intensifying fresh pressure on the government, demanding swift action on their locked-up investments. Now, the group has issued a 24-hour ultimatum calling for a 200 million Ghana cedi bailout. They have vowed to hold government to ransom at the polls on December the 7th if their demands are not met before Election Day.
We are asking the government to give us a bailout, and because we don't know the outcome of the court case, President should look upon the items, the assets that have been frozen by the state, and give us a bailout. At least 200 million cedis can solve, can help us for now, can cushion us. And so by tomorrow, by close of work tomorrow, we want the president to give us a bailout. We want the finance minister to announce, just as he did for the fund management companies. They were giving 1.5. We are asking for just 200 million to cushion us, to enable us to go and cast our vote on the 7th of December.
Let's settle for our currency market for the morning. All your business updates are done and dusted. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
Thank you, Ben. You want to stay for news review now that the AM News Bulletin is ended, because one of your favorite pair is right here in the studio with us this morning. Kojo Poku will be joining us live in the studio, and Wisdom Dogbe, who's a financial analyst, will be joining us via Zoom. The news review comes up next. Do stay.
Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for staying with us. And today we have a surprise package in the studio. But I want to see whether I'm going to be able to surprise the other guest, right? As for Sweetie Abochi, she's my in-house guest. But Wisdom Dogbe joins the conversation. Wisdom, good morning.
Good morning.
Wisdom, do you see what I see?
No, I see you.
Okay. Let's switch the camera, and I think Wisdom Dugbe will see what I want him to see. There you go. Do you see him now? So today you've missed the house.
Is in the studio.
There's a new host. The two of them are reviewing the paper. I'm the host of the program. I've come to host the program because they're not doing a good job. So by popular request, I'm told to come in and host, let them review, and you be the witness of whether they do a good job. That will come out of
your 2 minutes thing.
Do you remember that song? Though it's, but I'll reframe it this way. Ogoro, they see what they see. Yeah. There's a new host in town.
Wisdom.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my brother. It's good to be here.
You're looking good. I like your bow tie.
Thank you very much. I have plenty of them. I'll send you some in the US.
I'll come for one myself when I come.
No, don't come. I'll bring you one.
But speaking of which, both of you look really dapper this morning. It's almost as though there was a memo that was shared.
Oh, no memo.
The two of you look very dapper.
He got up early.
That's why for Joe and I, we are becoming friends.
All right, gentlemen. Sweetie, would you like to usher us into that?
I was enjoying this, but let's get straight to business. I want to start with you, Wisdom. What would be your 2 minutes take for us this morning?
Sure. Once again, good morning. I read this article about this Fitch rating projection that Ghana is likely going to face some serious liquidity pressure for the next 2 years, despite the debt restructuring effort. It's not surprising, to be honest, but it's definitely a wake-up call or warning to the next administration that the economic mess our current leaders have driven the nation into. This mess is likely going to take a little while. It's going to linger on for a little while. And I mean, it will take a while to clean this thing up. And I hope that the next administration will hit the ground running with the necessary strategic interventions, to avert the liquidity crisis and address the high interest rate situations. I would strongly recommend, strengthening our fiscal discipline ahead of time, to prevent this crisis. I'm talking about implementing strict budgetary controls to align government spending with revenue generation and also diversify our revenue sources. Of course, we have the IMF and the World Bank, right? They are giving us loans to ease some of these economic stresses. But we should be more proactive, sweetie, with our policies, to include, enhancing foreign exchange reserves, and also promotes local currency financing, including, issuances of the most domestic bonds and securities to raise more funds locally, and also strengthen the banking sector. And lastly, I would also recommend, monetary policy adjustments, including further cutting the policy rate once all of the conditions are met for a rate cut. And also, let's strengthen the Bank of Ghana's operational independence from a political influence perspective, right? Right. So they can continue their good work of pursuing effective monetary policy, which I believe can help reduce interest rate.
Thank you. So the financial analyst giving us a take from the finance sector. Kojo Poku.
Will he give us
I want to know,
energy sector?
No, I wouldn't.
I have the feeling
I wouldn't
run away from the energy sector.
No, I'm not. I can do it, but why? Look, everything is good. The lights are on. People are happy.
Hey,
the lights are 100% on. Look, the fact that people want to push, well, I'll take away from your 2 minutes. You keep talking. Look, the most important thing this morning, the beautiful day this morning, is that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the bus of possibilities, is in Ayawaso Central. Okay. That is why I'm here at this studio, sits in Ayawaso Central, right? And today we are shaking Ayawaso Central, we are shaking Ablekuma Central, which is basically, Doctor is coming.
Ablekuma Central.
Ablekuma Central, and no, the center of Accra. We are basically shaking the center of Accra. The bus of possibilities is coming into town. Everybody is excited to see him in the center of Accra. After a successful tour of the Ashanti region, a successful tour of the northern region, Doctor has now completed 268 constituencies out of the 276. The only presidential candidate that has done that in any election cycle, to visit every constituency. We have about 8 to go, and after today, we'll do the OT where my brother is from. We have some constituencies there to finish. We'll go back to Ashanti region, and then we'll complete the entire 276 constituencies. Right. So it's going well. We are just looking forward to 7 December. Ghanaians have made their mind that Omeshe Womodachi Atu Abapa. which is
no longer show us sitting.
no. Abapa, and that is what Ghanaians are focusing on. The energy sector looks great. There's no problem. Everybody's light is on. Your light is off now. Call into the studio. I'll put the regional. If it's Accra, whichever region is on, I'll put a regional engineer on. Your light will come back in less than 5 minutes.
You should actually take him up on this challenge. If
no, definitely. If your lights are off, call the show now.
It's not about right now.
No, call the show. Whilst we are here.
The entire week, commentary on X. It's about how the heat, there's no air blowing.
That's what I find.
That's what's making you laugh this morning.
I've been talking about
X is very faceless and very dirty.
No, we are here for the next interactions we have with
that's fine, but we are here for the next.
Even me myself,
my brother, your show is widely watched. Do you know why? Because everybody who is watching us, their light is on. So everybody watching us has lights. So if you are watching us, you know somebody whose light was off, call that person. Okay. Oh, they are saying that. Call us. If you call us, I'll find out how you got to know that we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. 0302 211 691 extension 2. Call that number. Yeah. If your power, your light is out, give us a call. This morning. How would everybody for the sake of time, let's do this quickly. 0302. I would appreciate it if we could put it on the screen. 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. Maybe extension 2. My producer will give me directives.
I'm tempted to say share the link. Those whose lights are off can watch us right now. So if you're watching us across any digital platform, spread the link, spread the word. That's Kojo Poku wants to know if your lights are on.
And if you're live on Facebook and you think you can't call, you could also just...
and we will attend to this problem right away. Everybody's...
Right. So, gentlemen, I want to start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Graphic EC discuss election 2024 readiness tomorrow. Shraj delivers mixed verdict on National Cathedral. Police arrest 26 for toy gun-related crimes. And ahead of election 2024, Keep Up News validator status. That is the National Media Commission charging Graphic. Tapahene sets ambitious investment target, marks Silver Jubilee on Tuesday. Where do we start from? I want to start from this verdict from Shraj. It's on page 16 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And it reads, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice has delivered a mixed verdict on its investigations into the construction of the National Cathedral, upholding parts of the complaint against the project coordinators while dismissing other aspects. Specifically, the commission said the allegation of breaches of mandatory procurement proceedings under the Public Procurement Act, as amended by Act 719, was justified. I know we all know the story, and we have our first caller on the line. I'll put a pin in this and speak to our first caller, calling from Shangri-La. Good morning. You're on the AM show. Do you have lights?
Actually, yeah, we have lights here, but it hasn't been as he used to say that our light issues are that good. They are not all that good. And we've been having these challenges. Even last week, we were having lights out around the side. And well, this morning I will be sincere to say we have lights in here, but then we've been using our plants here for a while.
Right. So when was the last time? When was the last time your power went out? Briefly.
That was just about last week. We were having lights out.
Okay. Thank you for calling.
Right. So it was twice there.
Well, thank you. So he's experienced some power outages, but as he speaks to us, he has light.
Yes,
so,
I know.
Right. So put a pin in the Shraj verdict. I'll come to you in a bit. On politics, more voter education needed to reduce rejected ballots. There's a story here I want to do. Police arrest 26 for toy gun-related crimes, and this is on page 27 of the Daily Graphic. I'll get to it in a bit. And I know that although those 26 people were picked up yesterday, I saw some, should I call them Ghanaian celebrities, still doing that water gun challenge of a sort. I don't know what it's really about, but should they be picked up too? Page 27, where are you? Oh, beg your pardon, I can't find it. But let's do some other stories while I get to that. Jumia Ghana expands operations with new warehouse ahead of Black Friday. Okay. Right. So Dumasia Midwife wins overall outstanding Ghana Health Service Award. I'm trying to get to that story about, it did say 22 and 27, but I can't find that. But we know that the Ghana Police Service has picked up 27 people who were doing that water gun challenge on social media, where among friends, they just shoot at each other with water guns. They say it violates something, and I wanted to get into that to understand what their perspective is. But let's move on. Rescuing, resetting Ghana's basic education. Basic education is conceptualized as a range of educational activities that help students meet their basic learning. Its foundation for, I think this is an editorial, so pick it up and read it for yourself. Policy dialogue on childcare centers, health in Accra. Ghana Blind Union receives white canes from GCB Bank. And Pharmaceutical Society warns against abuse of antimicrobial drugs. The Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana has cautioned the public against the abuse of antimicrobial drugs for undiagnosed diseases. It said not only was the abuse a threat to the health safety, but the consequences of AMR transcended health, as it also affected food security, economic stability, and development. That is the president of PCGH, pharmacist Dr. Samuel Kordonko, said at a press conference. We also have another caller, so let's speak to him while I try and find that story. Good morning. Where are you calling from, and do you have lights as we speak?
I'm calling from Upper West Region. My name is Clarence Maulan.
Okay. When was the last time you had a power outage?
Yeah, the light there, it has been coming on and off, on and off. They can take it for some 30 minutes and they will bring it back. So that's what we are challenging over there.
But as we speak, you have lights?
Yeah, they just brought it right now.
Ah, okay.
The light just came on.
Don't stipulate yet.
It's not that simple. We just take it within 20, 30 minutes, they will bring it back. Almost every day, it has been going on like that.
Which specific part in the Upper West region are you?
Specifically, Gulu in the Upper West region, near to Burkina Faso.
Oh, Golu?
Gulu, yes, please.
All right, thank you very much. So your light just came.
Dr. Hila Liman's village.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for joining the conversation.
But you heard him say that it's on and off. Yeah. Okay, so let me do just one last story and then I'll come to you. Adequate security measures in place for elections. The Volta Regional Police Commander, DCOP Andrews Boedu Ekuma, has assured the citizenry that adequate security measures have been put in place to ensure peace and order at all 2,349 polling stations in the 18 constituencies of the region during the upcoming elections. I think this is an assurance coming from the Ghana Police Service on security ahead of election 2024. But so the strategy mainly, and then any other story that piques your interest. But because you're in studio, I do want to start with Wisdom Dugbe. Okay. I'll come back to you. Wisdom.
Yeah, so kudos to Honorable Okujeto and to Shraj for their boldness and independence in investigating this matter and arriving at the recommendation that the authorities should conduct a thorough forensic audit and possibly, prosecute the trustees of the National Cathedral project. Look, on this issue, I'll say this. In Ghana, a bunch of people go to church, but we just don't fear God. If we fear God, how can you possibly say we have spent north of 220 million cedis just for preparation? Preparation, not even part of the building itself. Just preparation before you even start to build. What is the value of money in that? We don't fear God to the extent that we are using the name of God to allegedly steal money under the guise of building a cathedral for the Lord. May the Lord have mercy on us, because Hebrews 10 verse 31 says, it is a fearful and terrifying thing to fall into the hands of God. Look, this is what has always been wrong with Ghana. Mismanagement of our national resources. It beats my mind, how we arrived at the plan that a nation needs an additional cathedral to use limited state funds and donations to build, when the citizens are living in poverty. Students don't have classrooms to study in.
Okay, Wisdom, for the sake of our callers, you have the opportunity. Let's bring in Nadia from Newtown. Good morning.
Good morning.
What are your thoughts for us?
My dear, please, light has been going off every week in Newtown. You see, it has been
Are you speaking of Accra Newtown? Accra Newtown?
Yes, Accra Newtown. Commercial bank, around commercial bank.
Around GCB, right. Go ahead.
It has been divided into two. The other side getting to Nima, even Jubilee House has been experiencing light off. Because I'm on a story building, I've been seeing it all. Even just, they went off on Friday, we went off on Sunday, we went off today and immediately came back. Even yesterday, it went off and also came back again. We have been experiencing, you see, the spread, it has been, you will go off for a while, I think from 6 to 11, then it comes back. And then the other side will also go from 6 to 11, and then it comes back. But the doom, they are doing it. It might not be consistent, but they have a particular time they do.
All right. We're grateful that you took the time to share with us. And indeed, before wisdom goes on, there are certain areas that I know. You would see that it's like a timetable. This area will go off when this one has light. Next time, this one will go off when this one. It's like a rotation. But wisdom, you were making a point.
Ben, to that caller's point, right? Doomsaw is alive and well. People are still experiencing this. Just last week, just few days ago, just few hours ago, yes, they were spending all of this money to build a national cathedral. Youth unemployment is so high. Our agriculture sector desperately needs capital infusion, you know, for us to achieve food security. Again, we already have a handful of churches and cathedrals in Ghana. So unless God specifically requests that a national cathedral be built for his name, I would say this is likely nothing more than misallocation of resources and likely a grand scheme orchestrated for corruption purposes. If not, why would they bypass the Public Procurement Act in awarding the contract? It just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Right.
All right.
You said unless God himself, but how would God give us that instruction, wisdom?
God speaks to us, right? God will speak to us in truth.
Anyway, wisdom. Let me bring in Owusu, who's our last caller. He's calling from my area, so I want to do this one. Owusu calling from Jasikan. Good morning.
Oh, Jasikan.
Good morning. Hope you're all doing well.
Hello.
Fine.
You're great, yeah.
This issue of issue of light off is rampant. At least every day from Jasikan, right, Ejimi district. Every day, at least 4 times. Can go off 5 minutes, then it will come back. Then we'll stay at least for 3 hours, then it will come back again. So it's like you saw in the skies, and they're not telling us that it's rather not helping us. Businesses are not just doing well. The barbering shop and everywhere, they are all complaining. I don't know whether they are not giving them the right information. Please let them do something about it. It's rather irritating. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I want to add this message coming in from our boss. Kweku says, tell him my light was off last night. Today I'm going to buy a generator worth 35,000. Money I could have used for something useful.
He doesn't have
The lights came on this morning. We are suffering.
He doesn't have to.
Which area? So from Golu
okay.
to Accra Newtown.
Well, that's fine.
Jasikan.
You see, one of the things that I
like the fact that it's widespread.
And that tells you that this is not what we normally discuss on when we have this doomsaw issue. These widespread issues which are going off for 5 minutes, coming back, going off for 3 hours, coming back, could be intermittent overloading problems across the country, which is something that I'll call. Look, I'm happy that most of them are Greater Accra. Bismarck is going to get a call from me after this call, who is the regional manager for ECG. We need to get to perfection. We need to get to the point where today, about 2% of the people around the country are not happy. 98% are happy. From the calls we get in the small polls, me and Ben can agree on the sample size. 2% of people are not happy. But look, lights would always go off. There's nothing that nobody can sit on any panel and say that your light will never go off. Let me give you a typical example that happened last night. And I have taken upon myself to be calling around anytime I feel that, look, something is not right. Because my light also blinks as well. It's not like I live in a world where my light don't go off. But when my light goes, I call, right? And I find out that, oh, why is my light off? I have numbers that other people don't have, admittedly. And you will come to realize that because we run a multi-system, where valves can go off. Gas, look, there was an issue, and I have the video, I'll share with you privately, you see it. There was an issue where light went off, and they felt that the pressure in the pipes were not high enough. So they sent people on the line where the pressure was low.
there are gas leakage coming from the ground, and they found that, and they have to shut it off and basically attend to it immediately. So we run a multifaceted system that is getting problems from time to time. So that will let people like go also. But that's not the same thing we are talking about when you guys talk of doomsaw, which we all seen before, when you can't even make a phone call because there's generators everywhere. Let me make my submission.
So in essence, it's doomsaw that.
No, in essence, it is a system that is not perfect.
It's
a system that is not perfect that we seek to make perfect. We admit that there are challenges in the ECG system, in our distribution and transmission. There's investment that needs to be done. Now there's investment that needs to go to our pressure valves for the gas and stuff like that. And we need to make sure
that... Okay, Kojo, we have to make tracks.
Now, let me go. Chirag, look, I am for prosecution. Everybody that knows me know that I want the best to be done. If Chirag has found out that the National Cathedral did things that are untoward, they bypassed, they should be investigated and prosecuted. Nobody should get a free lunch or a free breakfast on our tax dollar, okay? So I believe that what Chirag has found is good. But again, the other side of it is that there were people's family involved. There was a reverend who was accused of having two names, two passports and all that. And it's good that Chirag has acted quickly, come out and said that, look, nothing untoward happened here. The man is okay to go. So his family can be in peace and he can be in
Actually, on that matter, Chirag didn't say anything about it. What Chirag said was that in respect of the, is it 2.6 million or something of the sort, he had indeed lent the money at zero interest.
Right. But then,
hold for me. Okay. So what had been given him was merely a refund of his own money, even without interest. Okay. So you can't say that.
Okay, but fine.
There was
the issue
there was some interest.
But I'm reading that.
But what it says is that it is outside of the purview of what it's supposed to do, which is why it refers the matter to a different entity to deal with.
The procurement issues.
Which ones?
The procurement issues, it referred it to the procurement authority to investigate and prosecute the trust.
But the double identity bit itself, it doesn't address that, does it?
Well, that's fine, but most important,
that's a difference.
That's fine. So what I want to say is that it's good that Chirag is acting, doing their mandate, and it's good that we can prosecute some of these things if there's any wrongdoing.
Okay, Ben.
And I think the High Court is even delving into that matter. That's a very interesting one. I don't know, though, because I just want to dwell here briefly before. In terms of the procurement breaches that occasioned the award of the National Cathedral construction contract to Ribadi Company Limited, the report says there's reasonable suspicion of corruption and corruption-related offenses. It goes on to recommend that the Auditor General conduct forensic audits on the construction of the National Cathedral project from its inception to date, recommends investigations and possible prosecution of Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral. Sweetie, this is what got me, because, you know, so many ministers, men of the cloth, and women of the cloth are in here. People I know personally. I mean, if this goes down, it goes a certain direction. And finally, it recommends the cancellation of the illegal, that's how it refers to it, National Cathedral construction contracts given to Ribadi. So that leaves us with a can of worms, and I don't know how moving forward we're going to deal with that. So I just wanted
to add to the conversation about the double identity. So actually, the report said that Kwabena Dujemfi has only one passport, that is the diplomatic passport, that is in our system. So I think what you were saying was right, that it's been clarified.
Yeah, but I think the point was the tax identification,
right?
The duplicity in there, because you can actually, now, if you happen to have two, you have to reconcile them, which is why there was a suggestion that other entities should deal with it, including the GRA.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to other papers.
Kojo, you do your papers.
Okay, my paper.
Some of these stories
city on resurgence. There is on the front page of the Business Analyst, it says that the Ghana city continuing its resurgence for a second week running, buoyed by the increase in liquidity of the Bank of Ghana. That is on the front page of the Business Analyst. And the other story, which I think everybody should be happy to see, is Baumia launches electric bus for public transport tomorrow. Tomorrow, 11 o'clock. You know, when Dr. spoke about his vision to basically introduce electric vehicle into our mass transport system, people were asking all sorts of questions. Are there charging units to charge it and blah, blah. And we are happy to announce that we have charging units installed at the Mass Metro transit yard. And these buses have come in, and tomorrow it will be launched and start the initial pilot on the Adenta Kimbu stretch of Accra, and people can enjoy these electric vehicles on our roads.
I like the smile on your face.
Because I'm tempted to ask, would we be abandoning this too when something new comes to light like we did at Ayalolo?
No, Ayalolo is still working. Why is it abandoned? Ayalolo is very vibrant and working.
Okay.
If the mass transit works, Ayalolo is working. These are going to run on the routes of the Ayalolo, which is the Adenta Kimbu. We are not abandoning anything. Okay. What we seek to do is like what the UK is doing, having a lot of electric bars on their roads. We want to basically get to the point where the mass transit system, and it's not only for the Ayalolo and the mass transit, we can also extend it to the GPLTU and the other who wants to come in as cooperatives and basically get...
Let's make tracks with other stories. When you finish with this, then
yes, I think I'll do those 2 stories.
Okay. All right, wisdom?
Wisdom.
Okay, on the depreciation of the city, right?
No, appreciation of the city.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
The story says that the city has appreciated.
Look, it's not appreciated enough, right? I'll tell you, I have direct impact from this, and I know what I'm talking to you about. And I've been read a comment by the governor of Bank of Ghana that the city will soon appreciate, and they have enough buffers in place. I think the governor is doing a good job on this occasion, trying to drive up confidence in the central bank's ability, to manage the depreciation of the city ahead of the crunch time of the festive season. Public sentiment is a critical aspect of how markets behave, okay? And the governor knows that. And I think he's trying to influence that a bit here, maybe, in addition to any tangible policies that his outfit will roll out to address the decline of the city. But as of now, I don't believe that there is much appreciation of the city that is actually making any dent. But despite what the governor is saying, I am just not very certain that the Ghanaian public really trusts their words, right? Our leaders today, considering the fact that the city has been on a decline since 2016 or 17, and none of the policies of the bank, right, of the Bank of Ghana so far has caused the city to appreciate. So I think this is a challenge that the governor and also the finance leaders will have, or they have, in trying to drive up public confidence. People want assurance by results and not just assurance by words.
Okay.
Interesting thoughts. Would you like to quickly do your second paper? Or your...
I think I did the first one, and the second paper is the Baumia launches the basis for mass transit.
There's also the story, if you may. Man loses 800,000 Ghana cedis after fire guts Old Fadama market. We don't have to, but we did the story yesterday. Adobe Asari was actually there, and it's a pretty interesting story. We're talking about why you would keep 800,000. There's actually footage here, or photos of the money. Some of the burnt money. So this is like a susu collector in a community which is unbanked.
Yes.
So Old Fadama.
Yes.
So in the community, he sort of does this. And then there was a fire in another place, and the wind blew it, got to his end, and he says there have been fires before, but this is the first that got to their end.
Well, it's unfortunate it's unfortunate that in the world of digitalization, where everybody is doing mobile money interoperability, where you can move money from your mobile to your bank and all that, he's keeping cash. He should have easily taken the money to the bank as he gets it and basically move it from his bank account to distribute it on Momo if he has to. The world has moved on. Keeping cash for me is not an excuse. It's unfortunate he's lost 800,000. I don't think he has any insurance that will cover that. So it's a loss to his business, unfortunately.
Kojo, I think the way things are going with digitization and digitalization, you should give us digital money, digital hope, digital faith.
Yes. All that. No, it's good. You need
everything digital.
Digital, because
even digital thinking. Give us some AI.
The reason people want to push digital doomsday when it's not there, they think it's there, and it's all that. Look, the most important thing is where. It's digital thinking. It's digital hope. Digital, as Ben is saying, digital doomsday. When they sit.
I like your digital bow tie.
Well, that's fine, and that is the way to go. That is why the kids of today. My 7-year-old niece, my 7-year-old nephew comes home and tells the mother, Mom, it is Mr. Digital that is going. We don't want chicken wings and kitty. And that is what the kids are on now. They believe that.
I hate for your niece to be disappointed.
My nephew.
Your nephew.
But look,
to be disappointed.
One of the things that I have seen, and going back on the story that we have, is that the hope and aspirations of Ghanaians, be it digital or analog, is that they want the country to move forward. And I think that's what Dr. Baumia seeks to do.
All right. Let me quickly get into these papers. And so Daily Guide, Baumia is hope for Ghanaians, that's according to Freddie Wasimeu Blay. Natoshi rallies support for Bawumia. Shroud clears Reverend Kusi Boateng, no conflict of interest. The Church of Jesus Christ holds Light the World campaign. I want to believe this is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Let me just look at that story. I just want to confirm out of curiosity because I hadn't. Yes, the Latter-day Saints. And the annual event, part of the global #Light the World movement, transformed the temple grounds into a beacon of hope and service, reflecting the season's true spirit. You see the HQ in I believe, Ghana, the one, the main one on the, yes. It's a beautiful edifice. Whenever you pass there, heading towards Cowbank and the rest, and I know people from there who also do great things. National security denies kidnapping Emirates manager. I want to get into this story because it's a very troubling one for me, and I've also seen the rhetoric on social media. Now, the Ministry of National Security has denied any involvement in the alleged kidnapping of Sylvia Ba, the manager of Emirates Airlines at the Kotoka International Airport. This comes after the Herald newspaper published a report claiming that officers from the ministry and the National Intelligence Bureau were responsible for the abduction. According to a statement issued by the ministry, no officer from the ministry or the NIB was involved in the alleged abduction. The statement indicated that the ministry had initiated investigations into the circumstances surrounding the incident and assured the public that those found culpable will face the full rigors of the law. You see, I find it really curious. She was supposedly going to the gym when she was abducted, okay? There was some rhetoric, and the claim is that it came up that she had denied certain national security operatives who were traveling the opportunity of enplaning, getting on board. The reason being that they were horribly late. And you know what processes you go through. And at certain points, even for security reasons, you are not allowed to now get people in for security reasons. That is the claim. And she was supposedly picked up, prevented from calling her husband, roughed up, spoken to for a long time. I don't know whether her phone was taken. And then eventually blindfolded and dumped somewhere in Ashaiman. She goes to a police station and then gets some money to board a trotro. I don't know, but we should really get to the bottom of this, shouldn't we? And
that's just one narrative. The other one,
and I heard bongo ideas on social media.
I want to be very careful not to spread misinformation, but to put that woman under blast because it's alleged that she's involved.
Who?
Alaji's wife, the woman who sells Alaji's wife's watch.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was the one who was denied entry because she was late, and then everything.
I hear it wasn't one person. There were multiple people.
But I'm just saying that until we've confirmed what really happened, don't put anybody on blast,
Well, so it will be very unfortunate if that is the reason why she was kidnapped, and I hope that there will be thorough investigation into this matter. She was just doing her job, right?
Yeah.
So if she was really kidnapped because of that, I think some heads have to roll for that.
Absolutely.
Well, and of course, we should also be careful because national security is involved. People will say that, maybe. We should be careful. Who was involved? We have to cross-check that. So I agree with national security. They are saying they don't know. But my problem is, like with Ayawasu West Wugon and some of the things that happened, masked people that you can't... You see, all those things create... We have to get to the bottom of this because... I saw Bongo Ideas is not someone you would take for, but you remember his incident, and people were referencing it on. I don't think it creates.
Well, what I was going to say is that it's easy to check these things. Today in Accra, it's very easy to track the minute she was picked up, where that car went, and where she was dumped.
You mean some of the cameras and
all the cameras worked? Yes, everywhere in Accra.
It's not everywhere.
It's everywhere, my brother. It's everywhere. You've not looked well. Accra is one of the most covered areas under CCTV today. I'm telling you.
I'm not disputing that.
Right. So those Huawei cameras.
It's not everywhere.
No, well, from here to my house, and I live towards the outskirts of Accra, and I see those cameras everywhere. Some have been hit by cars and accidents, and they are off and they've not been installed. But in 80 to 90% of Accra is covered. I am saying that the police should investigate this thoroughly. Because look, it can be just some young guys who basically feel that they can do it and they've done it. Because it did happen, right? The woman was abducted and basically, as you said, driven around, spoken to, and dumped.
What was the conversation in the car? That could help police also conduct their investigation. Was it referencing that she did something to some people and blah, blah, blah? Because these boys must have done some loose talk. What was the conversation? That will go a long way to help the police. I think that IGP Dampare, who's been doing a marvelous job in the coming weeks, in the past week and past month and past year since he's been IGP, should get to the bottom of this and let us know. They've been doing well, and I don't think it's difficult with the kind of technology we have today on the streets of Accra. It's difficult to investigate that.
Okay. All right, so just concluding on this, and then I'll go to my final paper. Dr. Orleans Lindsay is EMY, African Man of the Year. Dr. James Kondria Orleans Lindsay, Chief Executive Officer of JL Properties and Head of the Legal Division at the GIPC. Tanzanian energy regulators understudy NPA's operations. The other day when I read the story for the first time, I said, whether it's Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, they'll come and understudy us. Before you know, they've beaten us, and our system is still where it is. But on the energy front, Economy Times. Ghana to face electricity load shedding as 3 IPPs risk shutting down. 3 major independent power producers are likely to shut down due to unpaid debt of $259 million owed by the ECG if government fails to act swiftly, the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security has said. Nana Mwesi VII has therefore advised government to immediately take steps to avert a return to the power supply challenges experienced in the past. There's also Ghana to exit debt default by mid-2025, according to Fitch, and Ghana to receive $360 million from the IMF. That's it for me.
Kojo mouthing fake news.
Fake news, yes, fake news.
But I heard him on a week ago say that until something is done.
He's repeating fake news. Let me tell you where this story came out. Elikplem, who is the...
Which Elikplem? Ahmed Togbo.
He heads the...
the IPP.
IPP chamber, yes.
I just wanted to be sure he was the one you were referring to.
He came out and said that 3 companies, including Asogli, right? You did a story earlier that said Asogli is back. Asogli shut down on the 8th of October on their own. Government indebtedness in this sector is nothing new. We are working to make sure the sector works better. And
when you say on their own, what exactly?
They decided, look, they were owed. They have a power purchase. They have indebtedness. That's what I said. They are indebtedness. So, but the thing is, you have a power purchase agreement, which stipulates the processes within which you go through before you can shut down. They went against the power purchase agreement they have and shut down because they said that they demanded $60 million from the government and they've not been paid. Admittedly,
they're not being paid was also in breach of the contract with them.
Yes, but then
let's address it. Contractually,
but that's fine.
Government was already ECG and the whole system was already in the wrong.
But let's not make it as though they were the guilty part. Every contract favors both sides. There are remedy in the contract in default of payment. What the process you
they had tried with those remedies.
Well, that's fine.
They were not getting. How do you expect them to operate?
Well, that's fine. So when Elikplem now come out and said that 2 other companies, as well as we've checked with all the IPPs, and nobody said that we've told him that we're going to shut down. Nobody. We asked him. He was asked on TV and all radio stations to name the other 2. He says it's confidential. How is it confidential? You can say Asogli, but you can't say the other 2. So there was no other 2 companies that were to shut down by Friday. Today is Tuesday. Nobody has shut down. The lights are on. So what Nana Mwesi repeated was fake news.
Anyway, I received a message from Naya Manuel who says, "Good morning, Benjamin. We have light now, but in Kwabenya, light goes off in the day and at night as well. Last week, it went off 3 times, then came on for a second, then went off. Please, Dumso is alive and kicking."
Well, I'm glad that everybody
she's a 72, 73-year-old.
God bless him. It's a her.
It's a she.
It's a she. God bless her. What I'm saying is that it's good she has light. We'll investigate all these things. Bismarck is going to be the most busiest man this morning. I'm going to call the regional manager of ECG to investigate all these outages.
Right. I think this morning we can call Kojo Poku the light investigator.
Wisdom, right before you come in, I just want to add that NPP MPs are pushing for a 3rd recall of Parliament. Go ahead.
I was going to actually talk about the ECG's struggle with the revenue collection. But I thought some time ago I read that they were implementing a new debt or revenue collection strategy to go after various institutions and consumers, to collect debt owed to the ECG and also improve their general revenue collection. So apparently, it doesn't seem that strategy worked for them. And so I'm inclined to agree that indeed revenue collection shortfalls, I think that is a key contributing factor that has crippled, the energy sector, made doom so worse. But I'll take it a step further to say that lack of proper strategic planning is also contributing to the energy crisis in the nation. I think the solution to solving doomsday That solution should touch all of the players, in the energy ecosystem, from generation to distribution to, revenue collection. And I'm of the opinion that we don't always plan well to grow or leverage our utility supplies in tandem with population growth. But prior to 2017, okay, the government did a great job when it comes to improving capacity of power generation and reliable supply of fuel. But all of that hard work was mismanaged from 2017 to date. That is why we are still where we are when it comes to doom so.
Well, thank you. We need to wrap up. I just want to read out the headlines on the Hawk newspaper. NPP MPs push for third recall of Parliament. President Akufo-Addo urges GAF to, Ghana Armed Forces to stay neutral, ensure peace. Jabosu MPP hits back, reject Akando's EC claims as lies. And Ghana missing on IMF 2025 growth list. Mohammed Senior High School plan, elitist quote, say varsity dons. Anyway, thank you so much. Wisdom Dogbe, financial analyst. Thank you, Kojo Poku.
We don't comment on the last comment. We don't comment.
If you have 30 seconds, because 30 seconds. We are overrunning.
Well, I honestly don't see what going back to, unless there's some technical constitutional thing that if they don't go back will happen. I don't see what's the point. 10 days to election, what are they going to do in Parliament?
There's a lot of things to do. Government business, even.
Well, I know, but I mean, for the conundrum that we have, why waste the time? Let's face the election, win, get majority in Parliament, and basically put the NDC to shame and come back into power.
Budgetary issues that they have
well,
to
I'm sure there's a way around it.
But, and I guess even as we go, this was wisdom, we have to go, but Ghana will go for another debt restructuring in the next 3 years. I just remembered this story. Dr. Richmond Etiahene.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Saying that.
Wisdom,
so you get your 20 seconds or so. Let's go.
Look, this debt restructuring that you're talking about, right? We all know that unless something is done quickly today, 2 years, a year or two down the road, we will have to go back to restructure our debt. How can we pay our debt if we're not producing or raising enough revenue and the debt continues to grow? Okay. We are mismanaging the debt, and until something changes, I think we are going nowhere with that one.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Kojo, for doing us the honors today. I don't know, but Wisdom Dogbe may be in town one of these days. When he is, it would be good to have both of you in the studio.
Then, by then, it will be after election. I'll be in a buoyant mood. I'll come in my all white, and we can definitely talk about it.
We have that on record.
Kojo Poku is an energy analyst. Wisdom Dogbe is a financial analyst. I did this together with Sweetie Abochi. Do stay. Muftau Nabila Abdullah is up next with sports.
Good morning. Time now to bring you sports here on the AM show. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullah, a former management committee member of the Black Stars. Ernest Thompson has called on the Ghana Football Association to dissolve the current Black Stars and reconstitute it. According to him, this group of players are conflictual, and he's calling on the GFA to ensure that a new playing body is put together with a new technical team that would oversee the success of the next group of players.
That team you are calling the Black Stars is not a team. It's not a team. It's a group of individuals which are very, very conflictual. There's so much conflict in that team. The kind of things you hear, and Ed and the rest, they should take responsibility for keeping things to themselves. There's spiritualism in that team. There's conflict in that team. They only come and stand on the pitch to behave as if they are together. It is not a football team we have there. We have a group of individuals who are highly conflicted. Ask yourself, and if you're experienced in football, why would 8 players tell you they are not available? Simply because a coach, the captain, has been given back to Jordan. There's a problem there. Don't come and tell me that they are not available because they are injured. No, because they are divided. When it's Kudus, some people would like to play. and play well. When it's Jordan, there's a problem. Why would Juku not come and play? And then the next time you see him play. Why would the whole captain, Patrick, say he's ill the next time he's playing? Because I know the rules. The rules is that if he's injured, you can summon that, you can say that he should be brought back to be taken a look at, isn't it? But when he says he's ill and he can't sit in the plane, there isn't much you can do. Of course, what is happening now is that the season in Europe is very tight because they are paying the European Cup and the league. So the coaches are afraid of their players getting injured, especially the African players who are coming to play on all types of pitches. So they put pressure also on the players not to come. But the European players, although they also are playing the league and have a tight schedule because their countries are playing, they go back to play for their countries. So you see Ronaldo still playing for Portugal, you see Bruno still playing. But despite this problem, this team is a beleaguered team. It's a divided team. The only way out, whether you change Okraku or you bring a free, is to dissolve that old team and form a new one. And say bye-bye to some of them there. They've done their best. When you start the team again with a new technical team, this team will rise.
Mr. Thompson also revealed that former Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah considered dropping the Ayew brothers and Mubarak Wakaso from the senior national team.
I can tell you on authority, and that is one problem I'm having with football. There are a lot of people talking there, but they've not had a chance to be inside. So they don't know much about what was happening. There was an instance during the time of Avram Grant, and I'm telling you everything today.
Sure.
When he decided to drop Kwarasi, do you remember that issue?
Exactly.
So I remember Sekins asking him, why do you want to drop him? Justify it. Just justify it for us. He gave his reasons. We held the meeting. After the meeting, we were not too convinced. He was then staying at Alisa. So we decided that the next day, we will meet him there again to convince us. He managed to convince us, and we dropped it. Now, Kwesi Appiah. Remember, and people talk a lot these days without knowing a lot.
Yeah.
At a point in time, Kwesi Appiah had problems with Andre Ayew, Jordan Ayew, and Wakaso. You remember that incident?
Andre Ayew, Jordan Ayew, and Mubarak Wakaso.
Yeah. And Wakaso, go back to history. He wanted to drop them. He said he had dropped them. I'm telling you the truth now. We said, look, because of Jordan and Andre, and particularly their father, Betty, who is an icon, if he had problems with them about things in the team, we will plead with him to go and see Abedi and speak to Abedi. Because you can't treat Abedi's children that way. And let the father know if the father can intervene. It took Alhaji Hass, who we called him, to also go and speak to the boys about the concerns of Kwesi Appiah. Later on, Kwesi Appiah agreed, brought them in, and they came to save the team. So a lot of things happens at the management committee level. You can check all this from George Efriye. So the management team does a good work, provided they stay within the purview of their work.
And Ghana's right back, Ali Seidu, he has ruptured his ACL and will be out for the rest of the season. This happened just over the weekend during his club's football, where the Ghanaian right back got injured, and following scans, doctors have revealed that he'll be out for about 6 to 9 months, which clearly suggests that Ali Seidu will not be available for the rest of the football season, which is going to be ending in May next year. So that is what is coming in. Quite unfortunate for the Ghanaian right back who has suffered quite a severe injury, and he becomes the second Black Stars player to suffer ACL injury after Abdul Fattah Issahaku also got injured during Ghana's AFCON qualifier against Angola in Luanda and had to undergo surgery and would also be out for close to 6 to 9 months. Right to Dream Football Academy, celebrating 25 years, they have unveiled a monument that they believe is the symbol that represents the Right to Dream family. The academy that has produced close to 70 players believes that they've still got many things to do for young football talents in Ghana and the rest of Africa. My colleague Haruna Mubarak was there and has details in this report.
It's a day for Right to Dream to remind the world of their reputable status in talent development. Residents of the Old Accra community performed a vibrant display of culture to reflect the Academy's deep-rooted impact since its founding in 1999 by Tom Vernon. From football fields to classrooms, Right to Dream has touched countless lives, helping individuals excel in sports, academics, and personal development. James Norty is an example.
I graduated from the Marquette University in the US through Right to Dream. I met a wonderful host family in the US through Right to Dream. I had a professional football career through Right to Dream. I met my wife, my Danish wife, in Denmark through Right to Dream.
Among its notable graduates are Ghana's Mohamed Kudus and Burkina Faso's Usini Buda. Usini, reflecting on his transformative 4 years at the academy, urged the next generation to seize every opportunity.
Here, there are a lot of opportunities that are in there that are presented to them, and they have to work hard and then make sure that they stay grateful for it and then try to make the most out of this opportunity, and for them to think not just as footballers but as future leaders of Ghana and Africa in general.
Adding to this advice is an extra layer of motivation: the unveiling of a monument designed to mark the Academy's 25th anniversary. Here is the Chief Executive Officer of Right to Dream Ghana, Alex Esiedu.
So if you look at the wall, you see the Kania symbol, light, right? Kania symbol. Now what we tried to do was to put up that symbol, the same Kania symbol, but we made it in 25 pieces. The 25 represents the 25 years that Right to Dream has been. 25 years of legacy, 25 years of entrepreneurship, of pain, of victory, of investment.
Right to Dream celebrates 25 years of existence, and the story is far from over. This artistic representation serves as a powerful reminder about the Academy's legacy and, of course, its ongoing vision to transform lives of generations to come. The strategy of scouting players at a very young age and combining education with training has propelled Right to Dream to become one of the finest academies in existence. Director of Sports at the University of Ghana, Dr. Austin Lugutera, sees an even better future ahead.
They have produced so many people, great talents, and I can imagine how the next 25 years is going to look like. The people we see now as kids, I just see that just add 25 years to their life, they are going to be the leaders. If you want to compare what they are gaining here to compare to the schools outside there, I mean, these people will come back to take over the place. Imagine immediately after our program, they are back to classroom. They are not. You don't see any of them around here. The discipline, everything is clear here. Like I said earlier, they are filling the big gap that is created within our system in Ghana.
Over 90 students currently at the academy are determined to reach the pinnacle of football and professional success in the years to come.
UEFA Champions League football returns tonight. Let's bring you the fixtures of matches that will be happening, and Joy Sports will bring you the commentary of the game involving Barcelona and Brest. But these are the fixtures. We have Bratislava, they will come up against AC Milan. Sparta Praha will play Atletico Madrid. Barcelona will play Brest. That's the commentary. That's the game Joy Sports will be running commentary on Hits 103.9 FM. Bayern Munich will come up against Paris Saint-Germain. Inter Milan will play RB Leipzig. Bayer Leverkusen will play Salzburg. Manchester City, they will come up against Feyenoord. Sporting Lisbon will play Arsenal, and Young Boys will play Atalanta. So these are the fixtures for UEFA Champions League football tonight. And that is your sports. For now, head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. The show continues right after this.
This is a big story segment on the AM show. We are taking a look at misinformation and disinformation. According to a UNESCO global survey, 87% of respondents fear disinformation can influence elections in their countries. In Ghana, institutions such as the NCCE have had a cause to worry about the dangers of this phenomenon. Is our democracy being jeopardized by this? Public trust in credible institutions are waning. How worried should we be in dealing with disinformation and misinformation with just 11 days to go to the 2024 elections? Now, we look at this pertinent issue. Joining us via Zoom this morning is Caroline Anipah. She's team lead, Center for Media and Digital Literacy, also a communication and media consultant. Caroline, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Great. So we're talking about disinformation and misinformation. I'm actually looking at some statistics or data that you've put together, which is I think a survey you did, and it gives us details on the trends, the format, what to do and all that. But you first give us a brief on how severe the issues of misinformation and disinformation is in the Ghana case, and then we begin from there.
Okay. So once again, good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning to all of our viewers and listeners. I think that we need to start with understanding what we mean by misinformation and disinformation, because I believe a lot of the time we use those words and some of our viewers and audiences may not really understand it and why we spend a lot of time talking about them. So when we say misinformation, we're basically talking about information that is false but shared without the intention to cause harm. So you may not know that whatever you're sharing is false, but then you're sharing it out of concern for a loved one, or just so that others are also aware of what you believe is going on. Disinformation, which for me and for a lot of media experts around this time is critical to look at, is false information. That is information that is deliberately created. Whoever is creating it knows that it is false, yet they sit in their little room or wherever, create it, and then share it with the intention to cause harm, to sway public opinion, to influence people's behaviors. And so a lot of effort is put into creating this information, so it's not just a mistake that somebody makes. And all over the world, we've seen that disinformation tends to influence behaviors, tends to impact people's democracies. When we talk about COVID-19, when we talk about elections that have happened globally, there have been instances where there's a clear evidence that people have been influenced by disinformation that we may have encountered. In Ghana, since I started paying attention to the trends when it has to do with disinformation, we've noticed that sometimes people are unsure about how to consume information, what to do with the numerous information they come across, because they actually do not trust the information anymore because of the belief that there's disinformation. And then also people's behaviors are influenced. When we are getting into an election, people are confused about what they're hearing. I think that we're going to talk about the Untimi FM case, right? If you were a listener of that radio station and you heard what was propagated there, you'd be very confused and you wouldn't know what to do, right? And so disinformation in Ghana is a big issue that we are beginning to pay, and I'm happy that all of us are beginning to pay a lot of attention to.
Well, I want to look at, I mean, it's just 11 days to go, and you rightly you mentioned the Wontumi case. But before we get into that, the nitty-gritty of that issue, what would you say that disinformation and misinformation, now that we know the clear differences between the two, have some effects on voter outcomes, electoral outcomes?
So I think that is yet to be proven. You need to do a lot of research to say that this is the precise impact that it has had on people. But when you do speak with people in their little corners, they say that, yes, they are not entirely sure about voting, their voting behaviors or what to do because of the information, the disinformation that they come across. And again, like I said, if you speak with somebody who probably does not know better or is unable to verify the information, who might have heard the Wontumi FM case, they would be confused about what to do with information during the elections. And that might even impact their ability to or interest in voting.
Right. Ben will come in shortly, but I mean, just to give some context, I remember about 2 years ago, I did some work for Pen Plus Bytes on misinformation and disinformation, where we had focus groups and so on. And there emerged that young people, the challenge there is they do not check information before they share. And I think that is where the critical issue is, because once you share that information without checking and ensuring that it is the fact that you're sharing, then you're also spreading it. What would you say we can do as people, not just as media persons, but individuals, to curtail the spread of misinformation and disinformation?
Okay. So I think that it's not just a problem with young people, it's a problem with all of us. There is so much information out there. I think probably the people that we may want to exempt most of the time is the media, because it's their responsibility to ensure that whatever information they're putting out there is verified. So all of us are guilty at one point or the other of sharing information without verifying. That again is because of the volume of information that we are having to deal with day in and day out. So again, when it comes to dealing with whatever information you're seeing, wherever, I think that the very first thing for you to know is that today you cannot just take every information you come across at face value. Even when we talk about the media ownership influences the kind of information that you hear on a particular radio station. We are listening to Joy. If you listen to Radio Gold, if you listen to Oman FM, Wontumi FM, you realize that whatever information they put out there is tilted in a certain direction. And sometimes that is influenced by the media ownership and then the business model of the media. So know that information does not come it's not valueless. The values attached to it, and that is influenced by many different things. And so, and then also we should be aware that when we are looking at headlines, we need to go beyond the headlines, basically, right? Know that sometimes headlines are just meant to catch your attention, and then it's when you go into the details of it that you would find the right information. So the very first thing you do when you come across every information is for you to stop, stop, think a little, reflect, ask yourself who is sharing this information, why are they sharing it, what is their source of information, and do I even need to share it, right? And you need to do this especially when whatever message you're coming across invokes some very strong, emotions, right? Because bad actors, disinformers know that when people are extremely happy, extremely sad, or made extremely angry by a certain message, they are more likely to either share it in opposition or in support of that information. So always stop first, and then also investigate further. I mentioned a number of media stations. Some of us are so attached to specific radio or television stations and their social media platforms that we do not diversify. So we are hooked there. So we are in a filter bubble. So we don't even know what's going on in somewhere else. So it's important for us to diversify our sources, cross-check with other sources to find out what they're also saying about whatever message you're coming across. And then also we need to, sift our sources. Yeah, I mentioned cross-checking our sources and then tracing whatever your message you're getting to the original source. So let me just use the Wuntumi story again as an example. So the gentleman said that the EC now has 2 or more dates for the election, and on day 1, this is what is happening, day 2. So he's categorically mentioned the EC. So if you come across such information, a message, the first thing you do is, the EC said this, right? So you need to trace the message to the EC. We know the EC has a social media handles. We know it has a website, right? So go onto the EC platforms and then check for yourself. You can call their call center. I hope the call centers are working, especially as we are getting into the elections. So you can call the call centers. If you're not able to, you can also check with trusted media houses. So always trace whatever message you're seeing to the original source. And that's very important to us also as media, because we are in an era where media houses are just cross-publishing without checking the sources of the information. Right. So this is a critical moment for media houses, so also always trace to the original source.
Thank you. And right before Ben comes in, you talked about the idiosyncrasies in the reportage of various media houses, based on who owns them and all that. Aside diversification, like you mentioned, should we be looking at some reforms to curb this menace? Policy reforms, maybe.
I think that's a discussion that has been had several times on various platforms. And I know that the NMC, the National Media Commission, is doing a lot, but there is so much more to be done, especially when there's clear evidence that some media houses are not, they're not in the media business, right? They're just there to push the agenda of their owners.
Yeah.
And that is tainting the entire reputation and hard work of credible media houses like Joy FM, Multimedia, and the others there. Right. So there is so much more to be done. When media houses are caught in the unprofessional act, what happens at the end of the day? Are they left off the hook? Are they made scapegoats, examples for others to follow? What is the repercussion for being unprofessional, right? So if we come to the realization that there's no punishment, we'll keep doing it. It's like having a child. You don't scold your child for any wrongdoing. They become messed up. That's what happens.
And Ben, hopefully this is some of the gaps that the broadcasting bill, if passed into law, can fix for us. But over to you.
Exactly, and that was one of the things. Caroline, 2 very quick things. So first, do you think, of course, there's media freedom of speech on the one end, but we know of entities that are clearly political, that, like you mentioned, we know the ownership and people can do whatever they like, both in the print and in the, TV and radio media entities. Should we get to the point where maybe we weed out some of such entities? What is your take on that? Brief thoughts.
Okay, so how do we weed them out?
Well, I think it is clear enough. It is clear enough with what we see, don't we? I mean, I always say that there are some papers, for example, you can, any story on any given day, you can pick that same story. You know that X paper will approach it from this end, and Y paper will approach it from the other end.
Yeah. So that it's easy to say, yes, let's clear them out. But then again, I ask, how do we clear them out? Because whilst clearing them out, you also do not want to censor the media. So we need to have clear guidelines on how to do this. And some people would say that let's use laws. So there is the Electronic Communications Act, which I believe the police was what the police applied in arresting the gentleman who spread that false disinformation on Wuntumi FM. But when it comes again to laws in Ghana and in a lot of other countries and weeding unprofessional organizations out, a lot of people are a bit wary because with our history, we know that laws and measures like what we are discussing can be used to censor media and also get rid of opponents. So yes, it's important to ensure to get those who are not practicing professionally out, but it is the account of it that we need to pay attention to so that we do not curtail people's freedom to express themselves.
And I agree with you, but we've moved from one extreme where people were muzzled to another extreme where people can say practically anything, including nonsense and false information, and it goes on. I believe that's the gentleman Anipah speaking in the background. Okay, so we'll get that footage when it's ready. But you also made mention of something, and I just want to take you back to that. There are some people who are not on social media, who don't even have smart gadgets. So, for example, this Wontumi radio person who says this thing. For them, they hear it on radio and that's it. They are probably not watching TV. There are people like that, and they are not on smart gadgets. How do such people sift through? For them, what happens?
That's very important, and it's one of the challenges that I've had with disinformation, media literacy efforts in Ghana over the years. We tend to be quite focused on those that are on the digital platforms and then leave out those that are offline. But then we know that in Ghana and in a lot of West African countries, radio is the most accessible form of media, and it's actually one of the most trusted sources of information. And so when such information messages go down, how do we ensure that people down there hear it? And that's where what we are doing here today comes in, right? So on platforms like yours, this is TV. So I know that on your radio platform as well, Joy FM, you have discussions like this where you educate your listeners about how to deal with false information when they come across them. But then again, for the civil society actors like the Center for Media and Digital Literacy, we need to go to the grassroots, ensure that we are talking directly to the people who are, who may be targets of messages like the gentleman shared, because you and I would not believe it, but somebody somewhere would not know it. So we need to take some of our interventions offline. We take it offline so that people down there also get to know about it. Traditional media also has to help in that direction because you have the platform and you have the reach.
I mean, here in Africa, also in the UK, the US, France, misinformation, disinformation has been used in electoral settings. Now, when you think of Ghana, we're on the cusp of another election. What goes into electoral misinformation, or in fact, let's focus on disinformation in terms of elections? What are we to look out for?
Okay, so based on elections that have been held, I will talk specifically about Ghana. Can you go back to my first, I think the second slide, we talked about the trends.
The one about the trends, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so at least what I see there, which I can read out for you before you get there.
Yes, don't worry, I can speak to them.
Okay.
So based on what we've seen in other countries and what we saw in 2020, third slide, please.
So we are looking at the one that says trends for disinformation. Yes, that's where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's often a lot of false information about the electoral process, and the Wontumi FM case is the classical. I was thinking to myself last night that in all of my years monitoring electoral disinformation, I'd never come across anything like that.
Me neither. I was shocked.
How can someone sit down confidently on radio and spread such falsehoods? So there's a lot of that getting into the election period, like the period that we're in, talking just confusion about the process, where to find your polling stations and the rest. And then on the D-Day, you find a lot of false information about vote rigging. polling stations that have been moved, ballot boxes that have been snatched, that kind of information. Then also, around this time that we're in, we'll see a lot of false information about party manifestos, about policies, about crowd sizes. I saw some videos and images on social media, and then they're saying that party has such a big crowd they're going to win. And some of them are actually not, related to this election. They're from elsewhere or they're from previous years, right? And the last one, which I think is very important to me, and which I was particularly paying a lot of attention to getting into this election, was imposter content, right? That is, I think you played some of that video before our conversation, but it wasn't elections related.
Right.
So that's when false information is credited to credible people, attributed to credible people, media houses like Joy FM and the rest. Before early this year, there was so much of that, where you see artworks, pictures with logos of Joy FM, with City FM, with so and so, and they're saying that this media house has said that. And we've seen that over the years, that's one way that media houses have been communicating to us. So when you see that, you're bound to believe that it's actually coming from the media house, when in actual sense, it's not, right? So those are some of the things that we've seen over the years. And a lot of them are also, they're also pushed out there with ethnic and stereotypical narratives. So there was one that says that Napo has said Evers and Jans are responsible for all of Ghana's mishaps, right? So that's an imposter content. And they know that in Ghana, much as we talk about being united and all of that, there are also those ethnic tensions. So if I put my message out there and I underline it with such narratives, people are bound to take action or react in a certain way.
I see. Interesting dynamics there. One of the things we've been doing is to put QR codes on some of our flyers nowadays to help. I mean, it's not foolproof, but at least it helps. It adds another layer to guaranteeing that this is from the right source.
Right. And how effective would you say, Caroline, this Cybersecurity Act 2020 is? And even before we get there, I want to stay on the Wontumi case for a bit. I mean, if you talk about digital media proliferation, of course, the content has already been shared. But this is someone sitting in a radio station spewing this disinformation. Would you say was the responsibility of whoever is in the room with this person to bring him to book even before it got out? And then how effective are these cybersecurity acts that we have, would you say?
I think there's a lot of questions to be asked when we consider the Wontumi case, right? Because before, when Kingsley spoke to me about being on this show, and then I told him I would want to show some slides, he said, okay, can you share them with me so I know what you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Right, so that's a serious producer there, right? I'm very certain that if I begin to go overboard, get sensational or say the wrong things, he would stop me, or you guys would find a way of, taking me off air, right? And I think in the past there was something about delaying, I forget what it's called. You delay, I don't know, one of you can probably help me. There's this delay measure, says that you hear first what I'm saying before your audience even gets to hear it.
Is that 5 seconds delay in the transmission?
Yeah, I think it's still working. Yeah, but that
does.
was one of the measures that was in place to ensure that people online listening to a media platform do not fall prey to any false narrative, right? So I'm wondering, where was the gentleman's producer? Who else was in the room? Because this person, at least one person would have suspected that what he was saying was false. So what happened?
Alternatively, you could ask, or is it that it was agreed that he should do that?
The entire team. That would be so ridiculous. Well,
I mean, because why, and I'm not saying that it is what happened. I'm speculating. But I'm also saying that until some people pointed out to it, which was quite a while after this had happened, the guy was still on air, wasn't he?
Or they just didn't know.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because here, as I sit here, if you say anything that, before you realize, I mean, apart from the back room, you are getting messages from the top hierarchy and all of that. So I don't know how that could have happened without the system knowing that something like that had happened.
Precisely. So there's a lot of questions to be asked. And that, as we are coming to know, that isn't the only disinformation that has been shared on that platform, right? There's also one where a gentleman says that if you want to vote for the NDC, start by thumbprinting from 1 all the way to 8. And we know that when you do that, that's a spoiled ballot, right? So we obviously need to pay attention to what's going on Wuntumi FM. And then on all radio stations, again, that's where our fact checkers come in. I'm happy that there's a Ghana fact-checking coalition. We tend to focus a lot of attention on social media. Right. But then there's so much happening on traditional media, on radio, right? And we know that radio is also very transient. So we need to dedicate a lot of attention and time to radio and legacy media.
Right.
Getting into this election. And you asked about the Digital Security Act.
Yes.
How many of us know about it? Okay, so again, that's where we need to start the conversation from. So there's a lot of, in Ghana, we have so many laws, so many acts that we do not know about, right? And some of them are also not enforced. So if they're not enforced, you would keep on making the same mistakes. So again, the media, civil society actors, all stakeholders, it's our responsibility to ensure that we make our citizens aware of these acts and then how they work.
I have a quick intervention. AI and deepfake. You mentioned that initially, the videos we showed, those were used for some nefarious medical entities. But the question is, what should people look out for when it comes to AI and deepfake in terms of electoral manipulation? What should people look out for?
Okay. So in Ghana, I think this election is going to be the first that we may have to do with a lot of artificial intelligence and AI generated images and videos. We are currently not very sure how that's going to play out, but it's important that we have some tips at our fingertips. So for those of us on social media especially, we need to know that there are quite a number of AI bots. I believe there was a recent research by one organization that said about 171 bots had been identified on social media, and what they were doing was putting out pro-NPP messages, and I think
so when you say bots, you're talking of robots, artificial intelligence.
Robots, yes, precisely robots. And so there are bots on social media, and what they're doing is to create messages, draft messages, put them on social media and amplify them, right? That's their main responsibility. And in this election, we may find them putting out a lot of such information. One way to identify a robot or bot and on social media is to look at their profile, right? So just click on their profile, go and look at the number of followers they have, how old the account
has been in use.
Right. So some of them would be created just for the purpose of these elections, right? And then after the elections, they become dormant. So look at their history, right? And when we are talking about AI images also, so far, haven't seen much of that getting into Ghana's elections, but there's been evidence in some other countries that they were used during the elections. So one of the things to look out for, a lot of the AI tools are not very sophisticated, although there are some that are very, very advanced, and you're unable to tell that these ones were, this is AI generated. But some of the tips you can use, look out for body parts if it has to do with human beings. Yeah, if it has to do with human beings, look out for body parts. Sometimes the hands, the feet may look a bit unnatural. You see that someone might have 6 or 7 fingers, and whereas the feet have melted into another object. When you see a human being wearing earrings or eyeglasses, sometimes the glasses have melted into the skin of the body, right? And then the body parts also sometimes may be disproportionate. Some parts are bigger than the other. One ear might be way, way bigger than the other, right? And then another way to do this is to use some digital tools. So there is the, you can do a reverse image search. You can use the truemedia.org. So if you're a bit
So
tech savvy,
truemedia.org, one of the places people can go to, truemedia.org, right.
Precisely. If you're a bit tech savvy, just type into your browser truemedia.org, upload the link to whatever you're seeing, and then it can tell you whether it is AI generated or not. Right? Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah, go on.
No, are you done? Because I wanted to inform my audience that what we're showing earlier was some of the articles that were fake, the NPP, NDC group or pages that were asking for money. So our audience know what we were showing them earlier. And this is the Wuntumi video that you're looking at right now. But Caroline, I'm curious to know, it is the fourth industrial revolution. So do you think that a time will come where, our battles with fake information, disinformation, misinformation, and deep fake videos and all these would come to an end? I'm just out of curiosity.
For now, looking at where we are and how quickly technology is advancing, it's quite unlikely.
So it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think this is a battle we may have to fight for some time. Yeah.
So where does that leave us before Ben comes in? If this is here to stay, where does that leave us?
I think critical thinking, right? Critical thinking, media, digital information literacy, all of us must know how to deal or handle whatever information we come across. They're fact-checking organizations, all right, but they cannot fact-check everything, right, and in a timely manner. So all of us need to know what to do when you see information. Where do you go to cross-check this information? How do you verify images, right? And most importantly, all of us need to know that we need to pause, especially when our emotions are involved. It's the same way we're dealing with anger, right? When you're angry, they say walk away a little. When you're writing an article and you feel it's the best article, they say step away, take a walk, and then come back to it. You'll definitely find some errors. So always pause and reflect a little.
Right, Ben.
Now, I mean, Sweetie, just the same way phishing and other ransomware attacks just keep getting better.
Yeah.
It's the same way, definitely. AI and deepfake, they worry me quite a bit because some of us have fallen victim to it. But I don't know whether you ever saw that Obama video, the deepfake one. And they've done it to many, many people.
Yes.
They are only going to get more and more advanced. Yeah. And so we are going to have to be more and more savvy. Else you could easily misinform. And as for the other one, that would be deliberate. So those are some dangerous things heading into the future. But where do we go from here? Especially as we are this close to an election. I believe the political parties also ought to be very responsible. But sometimes, like you said, bots, robots, they know someone within the party system has done it. On different sides. I don't want to mention names, but they know. And it is a part of their campaign strategy. How do we deal with such situations? Name and shame, call people to order. Usually these are faceless, but I'm sure there should be mechanisms to be able to trace down to the root of it. What do you think we can do?
I think that for the political parties, we know that it's a technique that they're using because there's a lot at stake for them. They want to come into power, they want to win. So I would say that they should do the right thing, but we know that that will fall on deaf ears, right? And so the responsibility basically falls back to the media and to civil society organizations and to citizens, right, for us to be a bit more responsible with how we consume information. Naming and shaming. There have been so many instances where fact-checking organizations have named and shamed, right? They've called claims made by politicians false, but they don't appear to be bothered. They repeat the same falsehood on numerous platforms, on numerous occasions. And so for them, I just, it may sound like a losing battle, but the politicians know what they're doing. For us as citizens, we also need to understand their game and not let them win.
Now, on this bit about legacy media, because in the midst of all of this, there are certain responsible entities that people can still say, okay, there's this information out there. Let me go to Joy News on Facebook, Joy News on YouTube. Is that information there? If it is, then I can attach some credibility to it. But you look at the UNESCO Ipsos ranking, views of people. 66% of respondents trust in news from television, 63% trust news from radio, 61% trust news from the print media. You know my worry? You pick some of these newspapers, they've been in the system for a long time. You can call them legacy media, but they are putting out false information. And you know it. There are TV stations now owned by politicians. They've been there for a long time. They are putting out false information. So, how credible is legacy media?
Big question, big question. Ben, I think that's a question that you and I would keep asking ourselves.
It's one for the gods,
right? For a long time. And again, that's also where government institutions and all of these stakeholders also come in. And that's why we have the RTI, right? So one of the provisions of the RTI is proactive disclosure, right? So and we know that the media, a lot of the times, is reporting what so and so person has said, so and so person from this institution or organization has said. So if those organizations also were disclosing whatever information proactively on their website or on their platforms, I know that, okay, so I am supposed to verify, cross-check with credible media. I've done that. But then I can also just go straight onto this website of the EC, of the NCC, NCC is in public education, of so-and-so organization, and I will find the information there. But we are at a point where we don't see proactive disclosure, you request for information, and then there's literally no response from anyone. You send an email, no one responds, you call. And so we need, I think it's actually an overhaul, making sure that all of our institutions are working well. If they're working well, this isn't a conversation we'll be having for this long, And not pushed into it.
Sweetie, yesterday we saw a typical example of that. One of the newspapers, for the sake of being decorous, I will not mention the name. I remember the newspaper. They put out false information in respect of the former president and the Russian oligarchs. You remember that story?
Yes.
I intentionally did it to point to the fact that, and that was their banner headline. And this thing has been, in fact, months back, it came up. So the entity cannot say they don't know that it is false information. They knew. So that was disinformation right there.
Right.
Newspaper, yesterday. I'm just refraining myself from mentioning the name of the newspaper. So it becomes problematic. Another thing is, there are a lot of these newspapers. Of course, there are the legacy media, the Daily Graphic, and all of that, which is why we hold them to higher standards. But there are a lot of new ones now. Again, I will not mention names. About 4 or 5 come to mind. And sometimes all they put out, in fact, a lot of those new ones, I started seeing them this year or from last year. In other words, some of them were also set up maybe by political entities to throw dust in the eyes of people. So it's a huge problem.
But
my final, okay.
Just
go ahead.
Add that indeed that happens, that media, so-called media organizations are set up just around this period. And we've seen that there's a particular one that we saw in 2020. It actually merged the names of 2 fact-checking organizations, Ghana Fact and then Fact Check Ghana, and called this of Ghana Fact Check. And they were purportedly doing fact-checking. At the middle of this year, we saw them again in action, right? And so many other of them happening. Back to that story that you saw in that newspaper about the Russian oligarchs. When we say you should use legacy media as your source of information or to cross-check information, we do not mean that you go to the same kind of media. Let me explain this. So if you are looking at, so Joy FM, Joy has a TV platform, they have radio, they have an online source, and it's the same kind of information you would see. So you need to diversify your source. If you're looking at a newspaper that is aligned to Party A, right, you would come across the same kind of information from Party A. So diversify, look at what other newspapers are saying, what other television stations are saying. In a day, I can read reports from Joy, from Ghana Web. It's actually gets stories from different sources, but just make sure that you're looking at all of these different sources of information, even when it comes to legacy media. Same way you have to do with social media.
All right. So this will be my final bit, hopefully. So according to the data from UNESCO, 87% of respondents in a global survey fear that disinformation could influence elections in their countries. It's 11 days to Ghana's 2024 elections. Would you say that the case of Ghana is reflected in the survey? I mean, this is your field. You interact with people day in, day out. Would you say that we are part of the statistics? It's accurately reflecting in the case of Ghana?
We are actually part of the statistics because it was a survey of 16 countries and Ghana was one of them. So 16 countries that were voting this year. And so they sampled some respondents, internet users especially from Ghana, and it was their view that disinformation could influence the elections. And when we speak to people, similar sentiments are shared.
Okay.
We don't want the situation where at the end of the day, people may doubt or will doubt the outcome of the elections or may not be able to make the right decision because they fear that they cannot trust any information they come across. So there's so much work to be done in that direction.
Okay.
Right before we go, Caroline, just a short bit to you. One avenue some of these people use to spread false information, interestingly, is bloggers, vloggers, and all of that, with huge followings. Now, people come, and yes, sometimes they are paid, and then they put out this information. For a lot of them, they know the information is wrong, but they are getting paid for it. Maybe from the criminal or the legal perspective, how can we streamline that? That's my final bit to you.
Okay. So it's a business, like you're saying, and for us in the media, I think that the most important thing for us is making sure that our audiences understand that these are paid influencers and they're earning based on your interaction and your engagement and your behavior. And again, it is the responsibilities of our institutions to ensure that, to even know that this is what is happening, right? And ensure that they streamline it. So if somebody is a vlogger, is an influencer, there needs to be an indication, right? That
I mean, should we, for example, have, if someone puts that there, this is paid for content. This is paid content.
Precisely. So right now, if you just get onto your favorite influencers platform, you realize that they're putting information there without any indication that this is paid for, right? But they are paid for. I've seen some of them, I mean, Deborah, for instance, would indicate that this is a paid ad. Others are not doing it. So we need to get to that point. And then also the media also needs to get to that point where they are clearly distinguishing straight news stories, opinions, and then paid ads so that their followers, their audiences are able to discern these when they come across them.
Right.
Caroline, it's been good having you. It's been a very fruitful discussion. We're grateful for your time. Caroline Anipah is team lead, Center for Media and Digital Literacy. She's also a communication and media consultant. That's been one interesting conversation.
Yeah, just to conclude by saying that sometimes I see posts and they put hashtag ad, AD, So you know that it is not coming from them. They're just advertising for someone or they've been paid for. So if you see any posts, any content really like that, that should tell you that, you know, the person has been paid to broadcast that. But right before we go, this year's CompuGhana Cashback has been named as Prime Cashback Season. And it's packed with incredible deals and exciting surprises. So this Prime Cashback, CompuGhana is bringing you exclusive discounts, prime savings, and awesome surprises when you shop any products from any of their branches nationwide. You can find products from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Media, Nasco, Tecno, Infinix, itel, Huawei, and many more. Visit any of CompuGhana branches nationwide and enjoy exclusive discounts on all products. CompuGhana has a wide range of IT-related products. Mobile phones, electronic products like laptops, printers, tablets, television sets, fridges, home theaters, air conditioners, gas cookers, and more. What's more amazing is this year's Prime Cashback with CompuGhana has got great prices with instant gifts and cash prices for your shopping experience. So when you shop at CompuGhana this season, be on the lookout for the surprise team. Answer a question correctly and win instant cash and gifts. You deserve this opportunity too. So rush to CompuGhana now. The promo runs from now till December. So visit www.compughana.com or simply call 0302 752-020 for more information. Then.
Well, they usually say your health is your wealth, and that's why I'd like to introduce you to Medicas Hospital, a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind. They have spacious wards built with your family in mind, a warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And they have assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yawasafo, the drive-time doctor, to serve you. Here are some of the medical services they offer. They offer medical services, specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. But if you thought that was it, no, there's more. They also offer comprehensive medical diagnostic services encompassing the following: endoscopies, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans. And if you want top-notch medicine, they have a 24-hour pharmacy ensuring you'll always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicine. And they also bring to you the most powerful medicine of all: simple human kindness and empathy. They pride themselves on the highest attainable standards, and they accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. So all you have to do now is make your way to Medicas Hospital at number 10 Kinso Street near the Ashaleboche School Junction. If you'd like to call them, reach them on 0501 477 340, 0501 477 340. On social media at MedicasGH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing. Now we're taking a short breather. When we return, we're telling you about that latest Shraj report and what it entails, what it means criminally in terms of liability and otherwise. You want to know about the National Cathedral saga from Shraj? We'll be back with that shortly. So we delve into those all-important issues as far as the latest Shraj report is concerned. In direct scope, the National Cathedral. Sweetie Abochi, and of course we have Edem Senanu joining the conversation. He's an anti-graft campaigner, and he is here with us. He's also co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Edem, thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So just to lay the foundation before Sweetie Abochi comes in, what do you make? What's your perspective on the report as you've seen it?
Well, it's a very thoroughly laid out report within the context of the request for Honorable Sami Okudzeto-Ablakwa. And they go to pains to attach all the necessary documentation responses. A very large report. I started. I realized we have about 200 pages, so then I did a hop, skip, and jump, looked at the recommendations as well. But overall, I am, I don't know what words to use, but it's It's unfortunate, it's disappointing, it is embarrassing, and I don't know how we got ourselves into this. So yeah, those would be my initial comments.
Unfortunate, embarrassing, disappointing. And so from your perspective as an anti-graft advocate, does the ruling address the core accountability issues that were raised?
Yes, it does.
How so?
They went to a great extent to look at the administrative processes. And I was pointing out to George earlier at GBC that this is not like an accounting firm coming to see whether the money that came in is all accounted for. No, this is to say, did you follow due processes because public funds were involved? And once they went through the processes to check the laws, what the processes required, they've drawn the conclusions, they've made recommendations. I think they've done a very thorough job.
Well, Straj is recommending a forensic audit of the project's financial management. How critical is this step, and what should be the key areas of this audit?
So what they are saying is, yes, the monies that came in, we can see the sources, we can see it was an account, we can see you gave this out to specific service providers, whether goods, otherwise. But whether the value of those goods and services really represent the money giving and whether this country has received, therefore, value for money, we do not have the competencies to do that. So, and they are very specific. Auditor General, please do a value for money audit, which is possible. It's possible because you can look at similar projects in country, outside the country, and draw certain conclusions as to whether we indeed got value for money. For example, you pay 32 million for architectural drawings. Is that value for money? I mean, elsewhere, comparatively, what conclusions do you draw? Could we have done this differently? And I think that's a very valid recommendation to make. And yes, the Auditor General hopefully will not say they don't have the capacity to do that. Then there's this aspect of the breach of Act 663, where they said further investigation and potential prosecution. Could the team have known? And for me, it raises additional questions. First of all, I don't know how we constituted a board without ensuring that they had people with procurement expertise, project management expertise, perhaps they had financing and accounting, I don't know. But it raises at the operational level, at the management level, didn't they have officers who understood that we're handling public funds and who had the capacity to know the processes that ought to be followed? So what happened at the operational level? Who were the technical people there? How were they employed? How were they assigned? All of that needs to be uncovered, because if you had a good set of operational people, they should be raising the red flags and giving technical advice to the board and saying, no, in this thing, we've got to do it differently. We've got to get this approval. Without it, we can't proceed, etc. So there are substantive issues to be looked at.
Right. Ben.
Now, looking at some of those substantive issues that you make mention of, they talk specifically about the board of the National Cathedral, among others. It's very expansive. I just want to quote verbatim some of what is said. We put them out in our quote cards, news cards, and I just want to quote some of them. So, right before I get into that, I don't want to say anything that is not the case. But they talk about the complicity of the board and how they themselves should face some sanctions. They talk about Ribade, the company involved, and how the actions of getting them on board were purportedly mired in corruption. I've found them now. So it says the procurement breaches that occasioned the award of the National Cathedral construction contract to Ribade Company Limited raise reasonable suspicion of corruption and corruption-related offences. Let me stay there for just a bit. Reasonable suspicion of corruption and corruption-related offences, but you would need more than that to tie anybody to legal sanctions, right?
Yes. What is the evidence to show that there was opportunity for personal gain to yourself or to your family and friends? I mean, you need some substantive evidence to show that indeed this particular service provider was selected because there was that opportunity and there are those relationships that were being leveraged. So definitely they would need to do much more than just make that statement. But yes, on the surface of it, they could have identified through the examination of responses to questions raised that there appears to be a reasonable case of corruption. We would definitely need to look at the facts to go to ascertain whether they justify that conclusion.
You would see that the Auditor General had been called in to interrogate other matters. The former Auditor General, Daniel Yadomelevo, has said that the AG must probe and surcharge if he finds breaches in respect of the National Cathedral. But even there's that call, Shraj recommending that the Auditor General conduct forensic audit. And then there is the bit about possible prosecution of Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral. How far-reaching is that? Because if you look at that list, the sort of eminent Christian leaders and even others who are on that list, and those who have left, those who remained, and all of that, what do you see as far as that is concerned before Sweetie Abochi comes in?
Well, as I've been commenting since yesterday, clearly there was a lack of competency. The nature and the stature of such persons, I would be very hesitant, very reticent to say that all of them very consciously got themselves into this situation. You can't have a power backer. I mean, some of the names they just tell you. Yeah. I don't know whether these were active members. So then again, I think that we probably need some desegregation to find out whether they continue to be active members or they were just there in name. We do know that Doug Hewart Mills protested at some point and exited. I don't know whether this did. So it may not be as, among others, homogeneous a group being together in taking these decisions, especially when they actually at the minutes and they say, we just agreed amongst ourselves. It doesn't happen anywhere now. See, Corporate Governance 101, it tells me that we have a certain major deficit, especially amongst our clergy. We should never make this mistake again of saying we appoint. I don't even understand what the rules are for appointing such boards where we could just set up a board that is all clergy when we're dealing with public funds. I don't get it. Yeah. I assume that in the initial phase, maybe they were told this is not a public funds thing, and maybe that's how come they got onto the board. In which case, we got to the point where public funds were involved and red flags started to be raised. Sami Okujeto raised issues. Doug Hewart. They themselves, even if retrospectively, should have sought the expertise of technical people who have the capacity to say, no, once public funds are involved, this is what should be done. Right. So it tells me that there's that deficit, especially amongst the clergy, handling such issues. It's not the first time in recent history that we've seen clergy appointed and things have happened that just make all of us feel very embarrassed. So I think that that is something that needs to be addressed. Appointing such boards must have the necessary technical competencies, and we have to check what happened at the management level. Because again, I'm wondering who was at the management level that didn't give them the feedback that, look, these issues being raised are substantive issues we should be very cautious about. Okay, we do have to go, but I just want your quick commentary, or should I say reflection, on the exoneration of Reverend Kusi Boateng. Is this really an exoneration before we go? What do you make of that? What was he exonerated on? Is it on the money issue? If it's a money issue, I think the double identity, The double identity, I'm not quite sure about. I've said that until I hear Reverend Kusi Boateng himself say he don't have two passports. I mean, I haven't seen him say that. He has not contested the fact that he has two passports with two names. I'm not aware that he's done that. So if you're aware, please advise me. Until I hear that, I have a difficulty accepting that part of the Traj report. I think they just didn't have the material evidence, and so they say, okay, without that, But I mean, the fruit of public opinion. So far, there hasn't been that, rigorous, robust denial that then says, I have a great difficulty accepting that conclusion. All right. Thank you so much, Edem Senanu, co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Then.
Well, we have to go, but that's it. Basically, when it comes to the double identity bit, Shraj did not get into that matter. But the bit about the 2+ million.
Only one passport that is in our records.
Yeah. But the 2-point-something million, that it was clear, that was what Shrad dealt with. So this matter of a double identity. But the High Court has even got into that case. So let's leave it there.
Leave it at that.
Well,
okay.
This is how we draw the curtains on this aspect of the conversation. But we'll be back shortly with more conversations for you. Do stay.
You're still watching the AM show on Joy News, and welcome back from that break. Now let's talk about Impact 2024 from Action Chapel International. Joining me for a conversation on that is Bishop John Ahiati. He's resident bishop at Action Chapel International. Bishop, thank you for joining us. You're on the AM show. Bishop is joining us via Zoom. Bishop, you can hear me. Please unmute so we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, great. Welcome aboard. So please tell us what this Impact 2024 is about.
Okay, Impact 2024 is an annual global conference of the Action Chapel International. This program has been on for the past 48 years. By the grace of God, God has given us that grace, and this year is coming off in a very powerful way. It's actually taken off already. Last Sunday night, and it's moving in some very powerful dimensions.
Right. Over 4 decades now, how would you measure the impact of Impact 2024?
Absolutely. There is no way you can have such intense program taking place over the past 48 years without it having an impact or a strong influence on the lives of the people. And naturally, it's also affected the nation in several ways because we are all citizens of this nation, and whatever affects us individually eventually becomes a national thing. So it's been very powerful. Lives have been changed. Destinies have been turned around. Perspectives have been put in their proper angles. And people have become more optimistic, more strategic in their thinking regarding what the Word of God teaches. Each year, something very strategic comes on that is able to bolster the confidence and the expectations of people, serves as a rallying point around which we all move together to have hope for the next year as it comes our way. So It's been very, very powerful. And the reason why it is still ongoing and is gaining momentum and doing great is because in the past years, it's had great influence in the lives of the people, and more people are coming on board, if I should put it that way.
In terms of more and more people coming on board, can you share the enticing highlights for us for this year? Talking about the speakers, activities, and all that. What's to look for? What are we looking forward to this year?
Yes, so the theme for this year is timely intervention. It's timely intervention. Timely intervention presupposes that there are so many ways we may try to do our own things, and there may not be any way in terms of solutions in sight. But some way, somehow, as we trust God, we are able to get him to step into the equation to change the narrative in our favor. We are not human beings on the surface of the earth trying to have a spiritual experience, but we are spirit beings here on earth struggling to master a human experience. So if we're able to put in perspective where we're coming from and allow the Creator to guide us and have that God consciousness, then we can thrive here on earth to be able to do his will and his purpose in a more purposeful manner. So it's been strong. This year we have some very powerful speakers. We have the Reverend Dr. Eastwood Anipah coming. We actually took off last Sunday night with Apostle E.C. Igenegba, a very tremendous, intense, and intelligent, spiritually filled lady who, really blessed the folks last Sunday night. She was on as a prelude to actually this conference, the first and the second service, and it was amazing. You should have been there to be blessed tremendously.
Well, I hope
we also have Reverend Dr. David Entry, the Carries family, all the way from the United Kingdom. We also have Dr. Bernard Ojiri Asari come in. And we also have on the bill Apostle Joshua Selma, who is also coming. And of course, our own father, His Eminence the Archbishop, who is the host, his family on the ground. And it's been very powerful, and we are anticipating some very great times ahead.
I see that there are activities lined up all the way to the 1st of December from the schedule we are seeing on our screens right now. So I'll give you about 1 minute or 30 seconds to invite our audience directly so that they don't miss it. What will be your message to invite them?
Well, it's a very powerful thing that is going on. Those who have been on the ground for the past 2 nights can attest to the fact that these are life transforming moments. We never get the opportunity to have these things regularly. So anytime an opportunity like this comes, God himself descends in a special way to pour into the lives of his people. Crisis threatened destinies are put in their proper perspectives. Mindsets are changed. Hope is given. Optimism rises, especially during this time of our election. We really need to know that God rules in the affairs of men, and as we call upon him, he will intervene in very timely ways to help us. Come December 7, December 8, December 9, we will all rise up and be in good shape. The children will go to school. We will all go to work. We will have peace, because God will intervene in very unique ways that we will not have any of those anticipated challenges and difficulties that will upset the peace of this nation. And in the peace of this nation, we can all thrive to be able to do and go about our work. So please come around wherever you are. Within the Accra Tema, we have over 75 nations represented from all over the world.
Right.
They are from all over the world, Africa, Europe, United States, all representing. And those of us in country, I don't think we should miss it for anything, because something very powerful could be deposited in your spirit that could be a game changer for you and will cause you to align with your purpose and become something big for you as you move on.
Thank you so much, Bishop John Ahiati. He is resident bishop at Action Chapel International, and I wish you the very best for Impact 2024. There's still more coming your way on the AM show. I'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still the AM show. You know that after our big stories, we bring you conversations with individuals and businesses who are doing amazing. Now let's engage some exhibitors from the Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. In the studio with me this morning is Emmanuel Coleman. He's operations manager for Legacy Foods, as well as Sophia Apia, business development officer for Auto Cleaner House Limited. Let me start with you, Sophia. Welcome to the studio, guys.
Thank you.
Sophia, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So introduce us to Auto Cleaner House Limited.
Okay, so Auto Cleaner House Limited is a chemical formulation company. We manufacture and produce car care products, household products, and construction products here in Ghana. So these products here are car care products. We have products for the interior, the exterior, and the engine area. So everything about your car, we have the product. When it comes to the household products, we have your bathroom cleaners, your cooktop cleaners, and every product for cleaning the house, as well as the construction products. We have waterproofing solutions. They are products that prevent water from penetrating into the building.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so everything cleaning, really. Yes. Auto Cleaner is your one-stop shop. So let's talk about, guys, have you ever heard of sweet potato, gari made from sweet potatoes? Emmanuel will tell us all about it. Emmanuel, introduce us.
Right. So this is, as she said, this is gari made from sweet potato. This is the orange variant, white variant. We actually have purple I was so much in a rush. I forgot the purple one.
Don't worry, I'd love to see what purple gari looks like.
Yes, it does look purple, and it's beautiful on the plate.
Okay.
So, yes. So, and then we produce yam chips and sweet potato fries as well.
I believe you have some that you show us later. But I'm curious to know, where did the idea come from to make gari from sweet potatoes? And how is the Ghanaian market accepting it?
Well, so the idea is this. Sweet potato is a very nutritious tuber that we actually grow in Ghana here, all over the country. And it has a very short lifespan when it comes out of the soil.
Yeah.
So just like sweet potatoes and yam chips and sweet potato fries, the idea is to just find a way to give our farmers a little head start in, prolonging what they sweat over the long growing season for, and make it, give it a little value in market. Right. Yes. So.
Well, congratulations. Hopefully, I get to try a bar with gari from sweet potatoes.
I can't wait for you to.
But what are some of the challenges you face, Sophia, as a made-in-Ghana company, and the things? I mean, there's a lot of cleaning products on the market. What are the unique challenges that you face, and how do you overcome them?
Well, for the start, I would say trust. A lot of Ghanaians don't trust in made-in-Ghana products. Yes, so sometimes you see someone, they are interested in the car care product, ready to buy, but once they see it's made in Ghana, they start, wondering if it's authentic or not. Yeah. So I think that's one of the challenges we face, and I would urge everybody to, trust the made in Ghana brand and purchase more of made in Ghana brand. And also with the promotion, and I think Joy News was also doing a wonderful. Right. The exhibition we did the last time, it helped us. People came around to see the products we have. So that was also a challenge. I mean, about promoting the product to the public here. So far, yes.
Emmanuel, do you have a similar challenge? And for you, this is food, right?
Yes.
How do you inspire confidence in your customers that this is the best choice of gari?
Well, so all our processes are FDA approved, streamlined. Everything has to be done in such a way that it meets international standards. Records are kept, all standards are met actually. And so the product you see here can compete. If there was any sweet potato from, say, any other land anywhere, this can compete with the very best. Same applies with the integrity of production processes that we use to produce the yam chips and sweet potato fries as well.
Okay, so give us the details about where you are located, how we can contact you, just in case our audience want to get in touch with you.
Okay, so our factory is located in Ashoman Estate, Ashoman is close to Kwabenya, close to Hacho.
Okay.
And
a phone number, social media handles?
So we are stocking all this around most of the shops in town, Maxmart Palace, Melcom. This is here to get Melcom, but our yam chips and sweet potato fries are there. And so they can get us on 0501632641.
I want to see the yam chips though, but Sophia, you tell us about the details of your location, contact, social media. Let's go.
All right, so we are located at Hacho, Ecomog, and you can get some of our products at Melcom, Palace Mall, China Mall, Maxmart, Abosokai, and some supermarkets. You can also call us on 05489-16167. Yes.
Please take that number, the number again.
05489-16167.
Well, thank you so much. So this is the sweet potato fries that Emmanuel was talking about. Yes. And Emmanuel, put out the number that they can call to get in touch with you.
0501-632641. 0501-632641.
So this is already prepped. All you have to do is remove it and put it in the oil. And you have some sweet potato fries.
Exactly.
Well, I wish you all the very best. These are some exhibitors from the Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. If you missed it, you can still get in touch with them. Let's take a quick break. We'll return with more. Many thanks. Thanks for staying with us on the AM show. Now, for our final conversation this morning on the show, let's talk about the 86th Speech and Prize Giving Day of PRESEG. In the studio with me this morning is Dr. Kwesi Asabre, Odadie 99 North America President, and Dr. Julius Patamia, Esquire, and he's General Secretary of the Odadie 99 Year Group. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Doctor and Doctor, so tell us briefly about the Speech and Prize Giving Day coming up and what special activities are in there. Let me start with you, Dr. Julius.
All right, thank you so much. Our Speech Day, as we all know, is a culmination of excellence of the school. And so the Speech Day is to honor students and to celebrate the school. So this particular Speech Day is under the auspices of the 99-year group who are celebrating their 25th anniversary after school. It's been 25 years after school, so we've got to give back to the school. And so for this year, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're having a mentoring program whereby the students will be encouraged into careers beyond what they study in school. And then on the Friday, there's going to be celebration of awards to students. On the Saturday, there'll be continuation of same. And then the latest in town, the AI project, which has been funded by the 99-year students, will be launched in Grand Star.
Which is your year group. But before we get into the details of date and all that, tell us briefly about, and Dr. Asabre, tell us briefly about why this artificial intelligence forum is important for this 86th Speech and Prize Giving Day.
Yeah, I think the reason we thought about it is as you look in the global age of digitalization where we are in, every place is moving ahead and moving very quickly. So we wanted to make sure that we equipped our students with the tools and resources they need to compete on the global stage.
Okay.
And so that's why we put that in.
I see that on your lineup, you have some known faces. Can you walk us through it? I see Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa there. He's a guest speaker on the day. Is he? We also have Bright Simmons over there. Talk to us about your lineup.
All right, so as you can see, we are homegrown and homegrown solutions for problems in the country. So we have so many, we're a batch of over 600 students, and only a few can be mentioned. So Bright Simmons, we all know, I mean, in the world of artificial intelligence, robotics, and technology, he's a household name in the country and beyond. So Bright Simmons will be speaking on the day. Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, it's also a 99-year product on the day he will represent. And then also to our seniors, Engineer Obonai, Patricia Obonai will also be there. And then our global president, Dr. Sapong, will also be there.
Right.
Not forgetting our moderator of the Presby Church. To him belongs the respect.
Well, I wish you the very best. But right before we go, I'll give you both 30 seconds each to speak directly to our audience, inviting. I mean, it's open to the public, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes. So speak directly to us, our audience, and invite them. Let me start with you, Julius. Doctor Julius Patamia.
Thank you so much. So, PRESEG, throughout the ages, has been a name in science, but it's not only science. PRESEG is a name, a brand, excellent brand in all fields of learning. And so as you could see, PRESEG winning the National Scripture Union competition. Recently, they won the Ghana Stock Exchange National Quiz competition. In the
Except the National Science and Maths Quiz.
We were magnanimous not to be selfish in overwinning.
Right.
And so as you rightly saw, to beat PRESEG means you are the best. So the ultimate winner, there could only be one winner. It went to a tiebreaker, and PRESEG gave it out to Infantipin, who ultimately went to win. So we are not selfish. We decide to share. To the public, we are saying PRESEG invites you to a celebration of excellence, and then a celebration of our students. And to our year group, we say kudos for all your contributions. And to us all, we are saying, come, let's celebrate the day. It is our day, 25 years after school. To God be the glory.
All right, to God be the glory. Dr. Sabra, what do you add to that?
Yeah, I'll say that when people typically think of AI, they think STEM. But I think one of the things we want to show is that AI transcends just sciences, right? So we have people that are in the arts and sciences, that are in the general arts, that are going to be using these tools, and they're going to be deploying them in the fields that they are in. So please come join us in our celebration. Take a look at the building that we've commissioned and see what your kids will be learning from and what they can aspire to. I hope to see you guys on Saturday.
Okay, we have to go, but in a few seconds.
But before we go, let's celebrate Alex Dodo, our project committee chairman, John Digbe, who has been in finance, Richie Dansong, who is in comms and finance as well, to our president, Mr. Wanda Madilo, Also to Yainti Adai, who has been excellent, and to Asabre himself, Diop, all who have made this project worth it. We say thank you so much to Suza, to MEP Electricals, and to Telecel, and to all those who have helped us. Imperial Homes, we have not forgotten you. Come, let's celebrate, and we are most grateful. Thank you.
In thy light, we shall see light. Can you give me the Spanish version?
Illuminate to videbemos lumen.
That's right. The Latin version, rather. So Dr. Julius Batamia, Esquire, General Secretary of Odadia 99-year group, as well as Dr. Akwesi Asabre, the same year group. He's the North America president, joining me for this conversation. Do look out and attend if you want to. My name is Sweetie Abochi. I did this with Benjamin Akakpo. And that's our show for today. Stay for the national dialogue that Benjamin will be hosting. Thank you for watching.